whoever is on that panel. Yeah, it's kind of weird.
Hey, just a heads up, we're live on YouTube. I get the stream going a couple of minutes early.
Perfect.
Okay, good to go.
Awesome.
Doors
All
right.
Here we go.
Cool.
Hello.
Lena, thank you for coming,
Hey,
Lena.
what's up, man?
Nice to
High
meet
five. Good meeting you too.
Hello.
Love
Where's,
seeing you.
where's Joe going?
Hi. High five.
He'll come. He'll come.
Awesome.
Oh, hi, Joe.
And which platform are you from? Sorry.
Rumi.
That's okay.
Oh, Rumi.
Rumi.
Hey.
Yep.
So Tony,
Yeah.
Hey, Joe.
Yes.
Joe?
You are? Hi.
Right. Oh,
Hey, I'm adding you.
that's okay. I'm coming.
Sorry,
Listen,
didn't hear you. What did you say?
I'm just
I'm
going to
adding you as a friend.
introduce the event and you very, very briefly. Can you do
Oh,
the
yeah, that's
the
fine.
speakers? You're
Yeah, that's
okay
fine.
with the
I'll do the
speakers?
speakers.
I'll get out.
Yeah,
Love
it's not
seeing you,
really
man.
Love
I'm
it.
Thanks,
in so I can
thanks.
read
Good
it.
stuff. Yeah.
Sweet.
So much,
Okay.
You-
so much work.
Yeah. You've got
Comes into
a lot of experience though in the space. So
Yeah,
good for years, man.
we are trying to bend what people think it's possible, and
Cool.
sometimes tech doesn't want to bend, but we try.
Hi,
And we'll
Carolina.
continue doing so.
That's right. Well, it's good though, man. I love it. Yeah, tell me
Sure,
about
trying
it.
to push it. Yeah, we'll definitely chat after the event.
Yeah, cool.
Hi, I'm Joe.
Hello.
Hey, Joe.
So, VR CEO, I'm trying, which one are you? David or?
Rumi. You want me to change it to Rumi? Change the name?
No, that's
He's
fine.
not Chacon. He's not Chacon.
Okay. Cool. Cool.
Let
Yeah,
me edit my name real quick.
All right. Alvin's here. Yay.
Matt, if you do,
Yay.
Hello.
Hey, Alvin.
Hi,
Awesome.
Alvin.
Hey, Alvin.
Matt, if you do edit your name, you'll probably have to re-enter for it to take effect.
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do that real
We can-
quick.
I can just get you to
And on air, so under host tools, make sure you click
I'm
both
not
of
able to
those.
hear you very well. Seems like the connection's not so good.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
So here we go. All right.
Don't hang up on me.
No.
Hello. I heard someone say hello. Hello, hello.
Hello?
Yep. There you go.
Good pen, Emma.
Oh, Sana. I thought you were going to be here. Ah,
Hello.
okay, Sana.
Last minute.
Can we make sure everybody's mic is on
Okay.
too in the host panel?
I'm so glad to be here. Hi, everyone.
All right.
Oh, hey, Sana.
Let me make sure.
Hello.
Mute the host mode, man.
Sana, awesome.
So, Sana,
Hey, Sana.
who are all these people talking friendly, and I need to make you moderator.
Where's my
Daniel,
elbows,
you wanna
man?
say-
Oh, hey, Alvin. Awesome, you're here. Perfect.
What happened to your T-shirt, Sasha?
Lost it.
David Whelan.
Host mode. So mute the
David
host
Whelan.
mode.
Do you hear me well? You do, right?
Yeah. Check, check.
All right.
Hey, Daniel.
Cool. Check.
Yep.
Wait, where?
Do you have Sana's profile stuff?
Oh, yeah.
Bio? I'll put it up on the dock, okay?
Yeah. Can you just send me a link to the doc? I just don't have it right here in front of me.
Yeah. Do it now. Give me a second.
On air.
Thanks, man.
Thank you. And then Alvin, can you hear me yet? You need to back up so you can get to your menu. Dr. Farid wasn't going to be here, but she came.
Hey, Joe, I've shared with your email address. Let me just check.
Yep. right.
Okay.
Um,
Yep. Okay.
I think
you
I
guys
only
hear me
have the
okay?
one email for you.
Yep.
Which one?
I
Oh,
still
it's Tom.
can't hear
Hey, Tom.
anybody.
Let me check.
You
again
can't
now.
hear
One
anyone?
second.
Check.
One second.
Hey,
Check.
I
Joe Mildew.
I can't hear you.
I
guys.
think his connection.
Hey,
He's
if you
connected
got
the
AU.
headset. It goes through the wrong audio. He has to reconnect, I think, the headset and then re-enter
Oh, yep.
Outspace.
I can
Yeah,
hear
there might be a
some words. It's just very staticky.
You got it?
It's up and
Yeah.
on.
Ah, okay. Then it may be internet connection.
Thanks, man.
Okay. Is Schmidt-Tech in the audience?
Hmm.
I'm looking for Schmidt-Tech. Nope. All right.
Is any tech in the audience? Okay, audience, hands up, come on. Warm up a little bit.
Okay.
It's morning warm up. Yes,
So
exactly.
how do we get started?
Nice. You guys make the call. What is this all about?
All right, folks, thank you for your patience. We'll be starting very shortly. We're just trying to work out all audio issues before we get started.
Here goes my hot chocolate.
I have asked Tech to come and help me with Alvin, but he may have to re-enter.
I think you have to
Alright.
type it to him.
I did. So
All right.
I need him to friend me. So let me stand up here. Okay.
Hey, Laurel, I
Yes?
checked in with, so we've got Alvin, have we? I haven't heard from Chris or David W. at Engage.
Yep. How do we want to do this? Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, we can.
That's all.
But you can't hear us.
So who do we have?
Okay.
So we're just missing David.
You.
I've got my
Okay.
mic turned up. Host mode is also up, so I don't know.
Yeah.
He has to just
Yeah.
reconnect the headset, I think. Sometimes Windows picks up
Okay.
the wrong mic and wrong audio channel.
That stuff happens.
Reconnect headset.
Yeah, I
I
think
mess-
so.
I
I mean,
messaged
that's the
him.
easiest way.
Okay.
Close the alt space, reconnect headset, and then open it again, and it will work.
Yeah, if you could.
What
Okay.
CVR are you guys using?
Yeah, cool.
All right. Hello, everybody. Daniel, I need you up here. Thank you. All right. So we're having just a few technical issues with Alvin to make sure. So Daniel, make sure you're on air and on megaphone, please.
On air and on megaphone.
And on
Hello.
megaphone. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good,
Good morning.
afternoon. Good evening.
Lovely. How's everybody
So-
doing?
Yay! All right.
Yeah, excited to be here.
It is. Oh, this is so exciting. And
Yeah.
so we are just helping Alvin get set up with his audio here, and we have an amazing panel. We're so excited about that. But first, Daniel, do you want to tell them about the
Yes.
selfie thing?
Oh yes, a little fun thing we've been doing throughout the summit is running a hashtag on Twitter called Summit Selfie. And what we're doing is we're asking you guys to take pictures in world, but also in the real world of yourselves taking part in the conference. So for example, in world, you would do it here or on Engage or Somnium Space or wherever you are, but also in your offices, in your homes with your headsets on, take a picture, send it in, tag Educators VR and hashtag Summit Selfie. What we want to do by the end of the conference is put a great big poster together of all your avatars and all your real people to represent what this summit actually looks like in the real world. So hashtag Summit Selfie, all right?
Yay! We also have a GoFundMe account because this is all free. This is a grassroots
Absolutely.
effort that is totally free. So please visit educatorsinvr.com. Please, any little bit helps to keep this thing going, and just use that GoFundMe button. We just love it. So this is for the Pacific Northwest and the West Coast of the United States, where I happen to be. And for those, this is the Wednesday night. For many of you, it is Thursday morning. This is the half point phase for what we're doing. So I cannot believe that we've been going as long as we have. So we'd like to invite everybody who's down in front to please just sit back into the chairs and settle all in. We do have some live stream cameras, and so you're standing up on top of the chairs. Makes it difficult. If you're in a Quest, if you could use your left thumb control to put thy virtual butt down inside in the floor, that would be awesome. And down on the, feet on floor, butt in chair. That will help with the live stream. And those of you who are the fiddlers and the shakers and the movers and all those that we dearly love, you've got a balcony up there to go shake and shiver and shimmy up there if you need to be one of those that move while you're in VR, and let the rest of us sit and be completely comfortable without any distractions. That would be fantastic. All right. So so move around, get your little virtual cutie buttons right down in the chairs. Are we set, panel? So
Yay.
Dr.
I
Farid,
think we are.
if you want to move into a chair,
Is
and
Alvin's
Alvin,
mic working?
Alvin is good,
Lovely.
I think.
Just before
All
we
right.
start, I have
Yes.
to say this, just before we start.
This is it.
Everybody, can we get a little bit of love for the man here at the bottom of the stairs on the right, or in front of the stage here, who is the one and only Tom Furness, who has come to watch the panel of his peers. Let's
Excellent.
get some love for Tom Furness,
Yay,
everybody.
Tom,
And maybe
yay.
right at the end of the panel, Tom will bring you up.
Selfie.
to something like that. Okay.
Yeah, we'll do a
selfie,
selfie or
exactly.
something. Yeah.
Oh wait, I think we have David Whelan here. Is that right?
David,
Is that you?
get up here.
Lovely.
Yay,
Hey, you
thank
made
you.
it.
Okay.
네,
Wonderful.
가시네요, 보시는 거.
Okay.
All right,
We
go
need to find him a
share
seat
with
somewhere.
somebody. Yeah,
Share with somebody.
share with somebody.
Oh,
There you go. And all
Lovely.
right, David, make sure that you are on megaphone by hitting the host tools and also on air.
Okay, we good to go?
All right, we good? Let me get
Yep.
out of
All
the
right.
way.
Thank you for your patience, everybody. Handing over to the one and only Joe Millward of TAFE, New South Wales. Here we go.
Hi everyone, thanks a lot, Daniel. So I'll be the host for this extremely intimidating panel. So we've got some great guests here today, and I'll go quickly through and introduce everybody. As I introduce you, if I can get you to throw up some emojis so people know who's who. So starting with Alvin Wang Graylin. So Alvin is the president of HTC Vive. He's the China president, leading all aspects of Vive and VR for Vive.com and the smartphone business in the region. He's also currently vice chairman of the Industry of Virtual Reality Alliance, IVRA.com, with 300 plus company members, and he's president of the $18 billion Virtual Reality Venture Capital Alliance, the VRVCA.com, and oversees the ViveX VR Accelerator Program in Beijing, Shenzhen, and Tel Aviv. So any of those budding startups, he's the guy to speak to. So we've got next Artur Sychov, so if I mispronounce it, from Somnium Space. So Artur is the founder and CEO of Somnium Space, which has just recently been announced, which is great, and launched. He has been navigating the virtual worlds for more than 2 decades, starting with Ultima Online, which is one of my favorite games, then Second Life and many more. Artur strongly believes in the ultimate future of virtual reality worlds with open decentralized economy, amazing creation tools where imagination is the only limit. Artur has worked as an investment trader for many years before creating his first startup and becoming a serial entrepreneur. He is a husband and father of 2 wonderful children. So we've got Matt Chacon next, who is the co-founder of Doghead Simulations and Rumi. So Matt is the co-founder of Doghead Simulations and the educational meeting conference platform Rumi. In 1994, he started a website development company, and at 25 took part in the $63 million US web IPO, so an underachiever. By 45, he was named a top 20 VR executive. He eventually returned to school and attended college and now teaches online education for free, much of it in virtual reality, and determined to make education accessible and affordable to all. All right, so next we've got Carolina Menko. So Carolina is program manager and marketing for AltSpace, the fabulous location we are right now. So program manager of AltSpace, Carolina is an expert project manager in media and technology, XR and MR sectors. As a project and community manager, she managed the Future of Storytelling community, creating year-round events and community projects responsible for the growth and management of the FOST community, including working individuals and key orgs such as Meow Wolf, The Void, Columbia Digital Storytelling Lab, Punch Drunk, Samsung, Microsoft, etc. A thought leader and published author, and see another underachiever, and the winner of the 2017 BOAAT Writers Fellowship and the 2012 David Markovich Poetry Award, and the 2012 Esther Unger Poetry Prize. She's also a member of the Golden Key National Honor Society and a Phi Beta Kappa Honor Society. So I'm feeling intimidated even more. So it's great. So Dr. Sana Farid is at the end there. So a pioneer and AI strategist. Dr. Sana is an avid researcher and a powerful educational reformer determined to use the future of tech solutions for the societal well-being. Her remarkable contributions in spreading awareness about learning through immersive technologies and artificial intelligence has won her a string of awards. She's set the direction for K-12 and higher education and research, and predominantly supports government and non-governmental initiatives to advance the standard of education. Through her experiential knowledge of pedagogy, Dr. Sana has chaired impactful EdTech conferences and devises her opinions and actions to
Do you hear him?
Just lost audio.
Okay.
Joe? Hey, Joe, you're muted. Okay, so, all right. Daniel? You want to step up?
Can do. Joe, let me know when your audio comes back, and I'll hand back over to you. So until that happens, let me take your place here briefly, and bring up also my questions quickly. Sorry. All right. So, how is everybody? Thank you for that introduction, Joe. We'll hopefully hear from you a bit more in a moment. Wonderful. Thank you also, panelists, everybody, for making it. And David, you want to move up a little bit closer to the back? You look like you're lurking in the background. Come nice bit closer. There you go. Oh, I see. Then you drop down. How about then? That's good. I think is that good, everybody? Do we like that? Is that good?
Great.
Looks
High five.
Okay.
You're back.
Cool. All right. So the title of this panel is called "Expanding Minds in the Metaverse," and I think the first thing. Alvin, in preparation to this panel, he was wondering how are we defining the metaverse? It gets used a lot, but maybe too often and too loosely.
Hello?
Alvin, you okay?
那个整个
Can hear
图
you.
片不见了
Yes, we can hear you.
啊！我不知道，整个断了。
You can't hear us. All right.
是网络问题啊。
Okay.
又回来
We're
了。
just gonna mess
Fix the
him.
connection.
At least we have a connection, yeah. The metaverse is what happens when everything glitches, but you're
完
still
全没
having
画
fun.
面。你这个线有碰过吗？
Can we manage the audio for Alvin for a moment so we can? We'll try that. Okay, so there's a question about what is the metaverse? Is this a metaverse? Is the metaverse yet to come? So I'm gonna first of all ask Alina. Can we have a very brief definition of what you think or how you see the metaverse? And I think we might have Joe back. Is your audio back?
Am I back?
Yes, lovely.
Yep.
Okay,
Excellent.
great. Okay.
Sorry about that. That doesn't happen in real life. It's harder to shut me up. Just before I jump on with Lena, I've just got a definition exactly from Neil Stephenson, who actually coined the phrase metaverse. I'm rereading Snow Crash at the moment. Those of you who haven't read it, it's dated badly, but HBO is about to release a TV series of Snow Crash, so exciting to look forward. So basically what is in Wikipedia is the metaverse is a collective of virtual shared spaces created by a convergence of virtually enhanced physical reality and physically persistent virtual spaces. So it's an interesting definition, but I'd love to get your thoughts. Leon.
Yeah, I think that's a really great introduction to a metaverse. I mean, from my personal perspective, I would 100% agree with that. I think the metaverse sort of implies layers, and along with those layers, all kinds of possibilities. And yeah, I mean, virtual worlds and virtual selves and virtual identities and all of the good stuff that comes along with Meta. I do want to add, though, that the thing that I think is even more interesting than the metaverse is now this new era of the multiverse, which of course goes beyond just the virtual into the augmented and the mixed reality as well. So very excited to talk about both the meta and the multiverse, and what a cool time to just be alive, right?
No, that sounds great. So how about let's go to Artur. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, my thoughts are actually, I believe that Metaverse, if we talk about VR Metaverse in general, I think VR Metaverse is, the connection of different platforms, and we're kind of living already today. I mean, if you look at those banners, right, we have Mozilla Hubs, we have Roomy, Engage, Somnium Space, Outspace, right? That's the Metaverse, allowing people to freely move between the platforms, which allows them to move today only their maybe name, tomorrow avatars, day after tomorrow currency. That's expanding the metaverse. That's what metaverse, in my opinion, is. It's a combination of many companies, worlds. Everyone offers something different, but in general, that's where we are. We are in virtual reality metaverse. Today we're here, tomorrow we'll be somewhere else, and that's, I think, what metaverse is, in my opinion.
Yeah, great. I might move to like the next question, because I think we've got a really good definition to start with. Matt, do you want to give us your thoughts on what you think the current state of the metaverse is? It'd be really great to get your feedback on that, especially with Roomy, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah, can everybody hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Yeah, thank you. Great question. I firmly believe that the current state of the metaverse is we are witnessing the Big Bang. I truly believe that we're creating a new reality that is our virtual reality, and no one was ever there around to witness the Big Bang, and we are creating the Big Bang. So who knows where the metaverse is going to go in 200 or 300 years? It's not going to look like this. Hopefully not. It won't look like this.
Come on, it's nice.
No, this is amazing for now. 200 to 300 years, hopefully, it'll be something indistinguishable from this. But yeah, and I have some very deep philosophical thoughts around the metaverse, but I truly believe that's what we're witnessing right now. That's the current state.
Great. I want to pitch this one at Alvin, if he's able to speak, which would be good. How can we move from...
I think Alvin's jumped out. Oh, he's right back.
He's out?
Right back.
Hey, there we go.
He's
Perfect
back.
timing, Alvin. Excellent.
Okay, I'm back.
Hear us?
So this is...
It might be my VPN issues, so...
No problem. So this is a question for you, Alvin, so it's perfect timing. How can we move virtual reality from occasional use to a habitual tool?
Actually, it's funny you asked that, because I think this last month in China is a giant experiment of how to work digitally, how to study digitally, how to live digitally as a human race, almost. I mean, there's about 1 billion people right now experimenting and being forced to rely on digital means to do almost everything that they used to do face to face. So, in a way, I think that's what it takes for VR.
Actually, just Alvin, can I get you to put megaphone on and on air as well? Because I think the guys can't hear you as well.
Okay. Can you hear me okay?
That's much better.
Yes, we can hear you in the background.
Can you hear me okay? Hello?
Yeah, and on air just as well.
Can you hear me? Okay. So should I start from the beginning, or did you hear what I said earlier?
I get some emojis at the back if you guys could hear. I'm not sure.
Yeah, we heard.
Okay.
We got
So,
it.
yeah, they heard. Okay, okay, great.
Let me kind of start a little bit. Essentially, the last 30 days in China is a giant experiment of 1 billion people trying to live digitally. Right. I think this is essentially the type of forcing function that we need as a species to get us to move into a new way of thinking, a new way of living, and a new way of relying on a digital means to connect with and work with each other. Right. So this is actually very timely, because, in fact, yesterday I just posted an article saying 200 million students are relying every day on digital means to stay up to date in their schoolwork. Last week, I remember posting a article saying 200 million workers are working from home every day because they're being forced to by the virus. So this type of forcing function is going to change the mindset of human beings in China particularly, but I think also globally, as we see the data that comes out of this experiment that shows that people can actually be very productive without being in the office or being physically in a school.
Yeah, no, I tend to
That
agree.
will transfer. Yeah, that's going to transfer into the virtual world for sure, but it's going to take time.
We had a similar experience with the fires in Australia as well. We were sort of housebound and unable to travel, so we had to look at alternatives. And I think it's a bit of a double-edged sword. You don't want to have these things happen, but the world is changing, so we've got to make sure we're able to adapt to it. That's awesome. So I think I'll pitch this one to David. What do you think is missing from virtual reality technology today?
That's a good question. So certainly form factor for the headsets, it's not very comfortable for kids. I'm wearing an Oculus Quest at the moment, very, very heavy on the fronts. It's not designed for kids. I know they say not suitable for kids under 13 years old, but this is such a powerful tool for education. It's perfectly suited for kids, I feel, once the content is there for kids, ages 8 to 10 and all the way up. But certainly form factor, it's very heavy on people. Also as well is availability. It's still quite expensive to get a good headset. Like the lowest cost headset that you can get at the moment is $400. It's still out of the price range of many people. Like $400 in the Western world mightn't sound like a lot of money, but if you go to India or any of those places, it's still a hell of a lot of money, and it's going to need to be less expensive. Obviously, the technology is getting better, and tracking is always getting better. The displays are always getting better. 5G is going to help quite a lot as well, where you can do some processing power off-site. And I think it was very apt that Amazon announced the very low latency hosting for VR applications coming down the track. So I've no doubt the technology will get there, but certainly form factor for younger kids in education is going to be an issue, and it's an issue that we see coming up inside Engage, because we get a lot of school-age kids trying to use the platform, but it is very it's very difficult for them to wear the items like the Quest for more than 15 or 20 minutes.
No, that's great. I'd like, while we've got him here, we might as well take advantage. Alvin, do you want to add anything to that as well?
I think Alvin has just jumped out again.
Oh, we've lost him again. All right,
yeah,
that's right.
He's in and out. He's in and out.
Ah, here he
is. Here he is. Here he is. Okay, sorry.
Alvin.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch the question. My connection dropped.
What is missing from the virtual reality technology today?
Honestly, I think that the hardware itself is getting there. We're getting very close. In the next couple of years, I think the devices are going to be at a form factor that people are going to be accepting. What's really, I think, missing is use cases and content that is compelling. So the killer app that people have been asking for, and I think that the working from home and the studying from home and remote study, remote travel, I think are the type of things that people need to start developing. And also, I think one of the key things that's missing right now is a quality network. Even today, I mean, we're doing relatively low fidelity networking today, and we are having a lot of problems. I mean, part of it may be because I'm, behind a giant firewall, but the fact that we're having all these lags and this trouble of connecting, I think that's one of the barriers to us really utilizing this on a long-term basis. If our phones, when we had to make a call every time, was this difficult, very few people would be making phone calls. Or if every time we went on to a website, it would take us 20 minutes to set up a website. we would probably not be surfing the web very much. So I think that the network and the quality, scalability, stability of the network is actually one of the key barriers right now, keeping us from using VR more.
I'll
Yeah,
maybe
I
add.
tend to agree.
I
Yeah, go
agree.
for
I
it.
agree with that 100%. I'll maybe add also from my perspective, what we're missing for kind of a long-term usability of VR and to make people use it more, is also digital economy. Whenever people, we in Somnium believe that if people are able to make a living inside VR, and now talking about India and other countries, right? If people are able to make a living inside a virtual reality world by creating, avatars and then selling them on a blockchain or making some servers, whatever they can come up with, and if they can make money from being inside VR, that's I think part of the killer app, and that's what will bring people to stay in VR longer, be there, and create some unique use cases for the world, for the metaverse.
Yeah,
I would actually. I'd like to add to that too. Sorry to interrupt, but right now I agree with both of the panelists here, but right now we're in a phase where we don't have the Apple App Store, right? So I remember when cell phones first came out, I'm 47 years old. And then cell phones, no one really knew. They're like, okay, it's a phone. It's just like my mobile phone. No one really knew what to do with it until we got smartphones. And even then people were like, okay, well, this is interesting, but what now? Well, it didn't start to replace desktop computing until we had the App Store, and that was a killer app. I mean, that was a paradigm shift in how we actually communicate. And that once we had that, then we introduced the world of mobile computing. That helped us move away from sitting down on a desk or a giant clunky machine and move into something that we rarely use to make a phone call. Now, we rarely use it for phone calls. We use it for texting and voice messages and a number of things. So spatial computing, I think, does have a bit of ways to go before we get there to your vision of where we need to be. I truly do think we're crawling. I think we had people who sparked the Big Bang. They created this. Like Tom Furness would be, I guess, the equivalent of God in our universe. He's the guy who said, let there be light. And now we have this. Now fast forward, decades later, decades. So I'm not sure how far we have to move, but spatial computing, I truly believe, will replace mobile computing, but we are still waiting for that killer app. And I'm actually not convinced it's going to be economic. I think there's a lot of socioeconomic changes in the world right now that are challenging that belief. It may be, but I don't think we quite know yet.
I personally think that the killer app for VR are all those people, are us. Every player, every person who is entering VR and who is doing something and who can unleash its own creativity, that's the killer app. Because when you bring and give people tools and let them create, they will. And if you then go one step forward and you say, look, here are the tools, you can create, that's great. And people will start creating and we see it. But then you say, look, but you can, if you create something great and others can appreciate it and you can maybe earn money along the way or do something else with it, that I think will unleash even more creativity, because then you suddenly have incentive to create more and maybe have a, stay full day to creating, because you are able to swap your real-time job to a VR job. So that's, I think, economy will play a huge role in that. And I think every one of you and us are the killer app of VR.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome, that's great. Some nice different opinions too, which is awesome. I might move on to the next question. Dr. Sana, what do you think identity will look like or does look like in the metaverse?
Hi, also. I agree with all of the panelists. Such great answers. Can you hear me all?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, so I think this is a very safe. Is it okay?
Yeah, I can hear you.
We can hear you. Yeah,
we can hear you. Yep.
When it comes to identity, I mean, I'm living in the UAE, so there is a huge diversity where I am from and where basically how we connect to the world. So this is a metaverse is something which is also providing us a lot of safety and security and basically all of the principles that we talk about, diversity and inclusivity. This is something that you're actually living it in the metaverse.
Yeah, that's great. Does anyone else want to chime in on the identity question?
Yeah, I think so let me share a personal anecdote. So I agree with Dr. Sana, and I deeply, deeply respect Dr. Sana. She's doing incredible work. So if you're not familiar with her, please, please, please follow her. It's truly inspiring, actually. So what I will say about identity is, in my own company, we don't have a physical office. And over the course of 4 years, we have hired 14 people. We only have 4 full-time people. We've only ever had 4 full-time people in my company. But we augment through 1099 contractors around the world. And the first time I ever met an actual human being in real life that worked at my company was 90 days after we hired them. Because we hire everybody in VR. We work in VR. We don't have a physical office. So what we've learned about identity is that your physical identity actually doesn't matter anymore. It's stripped away. What matters is what's in your head, in your brain, and what's in your heart. So your intelligence and your empathy. And that drives results. And it drives results in a very dramatic identity. It's a very powerful thing. And in our industry, we have a lot of introverts. And the mask allows them to just kind of break out of their shell and engage at a very deep level. So it's been actually quite profound for our company.
It actually reminds me of the heady days of the internet with MIRC and ICQ, where you had your own sort of shell that was around you, and people, there was a persona that was pretty persistent as well. And I think that's a big thing for me, that we are able to wrap ourselves in that safety of anonymity if we need to or want to. Now that's great. But it's been really interesting for us for education though, and this sort of moves me into the next one. How much do you agree with the following statement? And I'll pitch this one to, let me say, Lena. The killer app for VR are learning, collaboration, and humans in general. We've had the humans in general already, but what about learning and collaboration? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely would agree with that. I think part of the beauty of going back to what you were saying about identity is the fact that VR allows us to be a little more fluid in how we see ourselves, and more importantly, how we present ourselves. So in the real world, I may be, quote, stuck in the form that I have. But in VR, if I'm feeling, like today is an orange hair day or a no glasses day, I have that ability. And it's for that reason that I think we can bring to the world a little bit more of an authentic self. And I think that allows for, for the content in VR really to be our truest selves. It's even hard to make that possible in the real world, because in the real world, we have to play roles and fit niches, and, everyone's got bias that we're always dealing with and things like that. Whereas VR kind of helps level that playing field a little bit more. Of course, it's got its own imperfections and limitations, but I think as far as being sort of an experimental playground, it affords us a lot of extra space.
That's great. Has anyone else got any input on that?
Yeah, I would say from a... Go ahead, sorry.
I was just going to say that, I do think the killer app, I agree with the panelist here, is obviously giving educators the tools to create and share their own content, and that's something that we're keenly aware with the Engage platform. So if an educator typically wanted to get some kind of simulation created, they would go to a content creator, a development studio, and get that created, but that could cost many thousands of dollars, whereas what we're doing is making it easy where they can just go in and present as they would naturally, and then add elements and simulated tasks to their own content. So they actually have full control, instead of trying to marry in something that was maybe developed in America to make sure that it works in the UK curriculum. So that's kind of we feel one of the killer apps is ensuring that educators themselves have the tools to create whatever they want.
No, that's great. Anyone else?
I think if we talk about identity, I just want to add that the crucial part of the identity in general, and I'm not speaking about like how you look and how you speak and what do you do, but also what data do you share with the apps. I think having control over the identity and being able to stay anonymous if you want, and then uncover your identity to someone else, having that governance over your data is crucial going forward with the metaverse and VR apps, and we're pleased to be working on that as well.
And I think that'll be an interesting conversation with the vendors. I'm sure Alvin and equally Oculus, so HTC and Oculus are going to have people asking those questions. So I think that's a really important point. So I think the next question we move on to, what's the most important part of this journey we need to get right? And I'll pitch this on it. Let's go to David first.
Okay, so definitely the first experience. So I think the industry has made a lot of missteps very early on. So I can't tell you the amount of demos I've gone to when I've asked people, have they tried VR? And they turn around and they say yes. And I've asked them, what have they tried? And they say the Google Cardboard, and I didn't like it and it made me feel ill. And they've totally lost interest in virtual reality because of their very first bad experience. As well, experience of a roller coaster, and it made me feel ill and dizzy, and they're afraid of the technology, and it really hurts the overall feeling for what people have, what virtual reality can do. When you can put them in an experience that will really resonate with them emotionally, and the very first experience that we created as a company was Apollo 11. So that was a very popular application when the original Oculus Rift came out first, and one of the core reasons it was very popular is that it was a passive experience where it gradually builds up emotion in the user. And very often, like a lot of younger people bought the headsets, a lot of gamers, but they wanted to share the experience with their parents or with their grandparents. And they found if they put controllers in their hands or put them on a roller coaster, straight away they'd be out of that experience within a minute. And one of the only applications back then was Apollo 11, where they could sit down for 40 minutes, really soak in the technology and gradually get used to it. So I think first experience is the most important thing for making sure that we grow as an industry. And we're still a niche industry. There's very few people that have tried virtual reality. There's billions of people out there. Their first experience needs to be a super polished experience, and platforms like Allspace, Engage, what HTC are doing as well with their hub spaces. These are things that are very polished that I would gradually introduce people into virtual reality with.
Yeah, so no Richie's plank, I think, is also an important point to make. So maybe Alvin, would you like to weigh in on what's the most important part of this journey we need to get right?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're really still very early in this journey, right? I mean, if you think about where we are, I feel like we're kind of at the 300 baud modem and hearing the squeaking sound trying to get onto the internet. That was, I remember building, computers and then, getting that network and hearing that zee, and then waiting to go on a BBS and then download pictures and seeing it one line come down at a time. And right now, the people who are in VR are the people who are able to accept that and to accept some of the immaturity of the technology and the limited content. I mean, we have a few thousand pieces of content. It's pretty good, but compared to the phone where there's millions and millions of pieces of content, I mean, we're still far away. Right? I can remember somebody earlier said that we need to find a way to let people make money in this industry, and I think that's really important, because any industry, any ecosystem that grows has to have a viable revenue model for all the players in the industry. So let's kind of, even when the scale is small, there needs to be a way for people to survive, because if the developers can't survive, if the operators can't survive, I mean, recently we had we had like high fidelity dying because they couldn't survive, right? So we need to make sure that there is viable business models and people who are able to create that next compelling content for people. And there's going to be different killer apps for different people. I don't think there's one killer app for everybody. So the more people trying to solve this problem, the more likely we're going to get people to create content that that people love for, that different people will love. Right. So, I think that's, we just need to be patient. I think that's really the key to this journey, is that we need to be ready for the long haul, because this is going to be a 5-year plus journey, and we need to be packed with the right equipment to go along. We don't want to run out of food and water halfway through.
I maybe add
Yeah, sure.
one thing. If we look at it from let's say user experience, if I remember Ultima Online, right? If you when you played it like 20 years ago or like 15 years ago, even in Ultima Online, we all were in one persistent huge world. All the players were there, and that's what we believe in Somnium really, really much. We believe that people kind of have to share one huge persistent experience where we're not being forced to be divided into sub-servers or mirrors. We just can go inside the world or, virtual reality experience and then just be there without loading screens, meet people, even randomly, right? Here today, we are on purpose, we're having a conference, but what if you just walk for, an hour in the scenery and, meet some people who build some stuff and just talk to them and look at the sunset, sunrise. That's what I think is also appealing to many people. That's what we're trying to do with our, server architecture and what we've been working on. So I think persistence, in my opinion, I've got used to it 20 years ago in Ultima Online, and that's exactly what we're doing and trying to, bring to the next 7 Somnium space. So
And I think that was
persistence
the
is
power
the key.
of Second Life as well, right? So
Exactly.
that was where things started to really change. I think was that
Correct.
and making money as well in Second Life. I met a friend of mine in person for the first time, and she was a fashion designer in Second Life in New York.
Yep.
And actually is a
Absolutely.
fashion designer as well in real life. So no, I agree. Okay, so moving on.
Can
to
I
the
add
next.
something to that?
Yeah, go
Can
for
I
it.
add something? So one thing I want to add is I truly love this industry, and I'm deeply, deeply passionate about it. And I wouldn't do this if I wasn't. And it's important to have passion. You can't wake up every morning and go to a job that you hate and expect to succeed at it, right? You have to be passionate about it, but you have to be pragmatic. So I like what Alvin was saying around the pragmatism around survival, right? Money is important. It's not everything, but it's a big part of life. So if you're not making money, you can't pay your bills or put food on your table. That's important. But I do, a frustration I have with this industry is, we have a lot of conferences where I see a lot of the same speakers talking about the same topics at the same conferences year after year after year. And there's not a whole lot of variety. And these are all friends of mine. I know a lot of most of the people in this industry, and they're very, very well credentialed, and they know what they're talking about, and they should be at these. But I would love to see a conference, it'd have to be free, but some sort of conference where it's just investors and customers, and that's it. And I think we need to step outside of our industry and challenge our assumptions and listen to the people that aren't using this, people that maybe want to try to use this and solve for those problems, because I guarantee you there's going to be some commonality across their different experiences, and we need to compartmentalize and prioritize those and then solve for those. I think that's how we're going to kind of step out of this eggshell and break through the egg and start experiencing the real world.
No, that's great, and I
Can
agree.
I add something to Matt here?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so I absolutely agree with Matt. And this is something that, whether it's a virtual conference or even a physical one, we have been seeing this happening just because there are few of the pioneers, as I always say, in the AR/VR industry. However, now something that I started to see over here, and I hope to see it globally as well, is that the people that I was engaged with, the educators and the professionals who I started to introduce to VR, they're used to it. going back to what David said, there is an initial phase when they just have to go through a passive experience for them to get used to it. Very, very soon they start asking, what more can I do? What more can I create? So, which means that they're now ready to move to the next stage. This is where Engage and Woomi and Allspace comes. So right now what we're doing is that for every conference that I'm invited to, and this is something that I would encourage my peers to do the same, is that I try to introduce those case studies that I have worked with, because those are the people on the ground. Sometimes it's a teacher who's working in a community school or a refugee school sometimes. Sometimes it's another, even if it's a businessman, but it could be somebody who's taking VR education to remote areas, or engaging, let's say, for example, special education needs. So other than us who are either developers or professionals, I think right now it's the time. We've been working for 2, 3 years, 4 years, very dedicatedly in this industry. We have enough case studies to bring those people forward, because the audience, they need to hear from their success cases as well.
No, that's great. That's awesome. So I'm going to have one more question from from me, and then we'll open it up to the audience. So this is a challenging one, and I might start with Dr. Sano, and we'll go from that end to this end. What do you think your vision is of the metaverse in 10 years' time? It's only a small, easy question.
Yes. So the way I am working and the way I see people here, I basically very widely, I can characterize them into 2 layers. One is the early adopters, and mainly there are early adopters in every business sector, whether it's education, healthcare, or corporate, or anything else. Then there are the people who are, let's say, are late adopters, or they don't have the budget. So the way I have been working is that, let's say if we just take the education sector for an instance, because most of us here are working in that field closely. Every school or a group of schools that I'm engaged with, I encourage them to have certain tasks and certain activities to engage a less fortunate or a less, let's say, capable people who are in that. For example, there are groups of schools who are already implementing VR, AR in education. Most of them, they have a schedule. Sometimes it's 2 or 3 times per semester that they have to visit another school. That can be a community school or a charity school, and engage those students in the experience that they're using. As of now, apart from the virtual and digital world, there is a lot of physicality involved in it, just because we are limited on devices. Devices are expensive, so still we're trying to have a system where we are engaging a limited number of devices and having them move from space to space. My vision for the next 10 years would be to have first of all of the components so easy to use. I'm pretty sure we will eliminate the physical challenges of the hardware, the heaviness, all of that stuff that are needed. We will be eliminating that, and that will definitely bring the cost down, so we will have more and more users. Second of all, I'm really hopeful that we're going to have very intelligent connectivity, which will help us avoid the lagging and different issues, and be able to really perform things more than just conferencing. For example, procedures, surgeries, experiments with, let's say, 3D objects without any lagging issues. So this is what I definitely think that it will happen.
That sounds great. So what about yourself, Alvin? What do you think your vision is of the next 10 years?
Yeah. And on the question of the next 10 years, I think we're going to be changing things in such an amazing way, we won't recognize what will happen in 10 years. The acceleration technology today is allowing us essentially to do in the next 10 years what we've done in the last 100 in terms of technology evolution. So I think in about 10 years, we're going to get to a lot of what the sci-fi novels have been telling us. So in the next 10 years, I think we're going to get to where the sci-fi novels have been telling us we're going to go to in Snow Crash and in Ready Player One. That's where the metaverse is going to, and we're going to be so dependent on this technology more than anything we've ever used before. So, and it's going to be integrated in every part of our daily lives. I think that's where we're going, and it's inevitable. It's just how and when and what pockets of the world will happen first. That's really the only question. But it is definitely going to happen.
That's great. So, David?
Yeah, so I think the next 10 years, really, we want to look at what issues are we going to solve. So virtual reality, I feel, and augmented reality is going to solve a lot of issues. And one of the core things that we're trying to solve is obviously the high price of education. So it's an absolute tragedy in global education today when a student comes out of university, especially in America where they owe $100,000 or $150,000. This is crippling our young people today. And I fully believe because education is so highly priced that there's people alive today who have the brain capacity of Einstein who are flipping burgers in Burger King because they've never had the opportunity. So what we're trying to achieve with the Engage platform is really to open up education to those less fortunate. And you can pick and choose your educators. So when I was growing up, I'm dyslexic. I've never gone to university or college. I never got the grade because I learn in a different way to many other people. I'm very good at some of my subjects, but I'm really, really poor at others because I didn't respond very well with some of my educators. And I had to really stick with that when I was younger because I could only use the educators that are in my school. And what we're hoping with virtual reality and with the Engage platform is that you can pick and choose your education tailored to your needs. So I believe in 10 years' time that we will see universities specializing in virtual reality. So I could see a time when you can do physics in MIT in the morning and you could do English literature in Oxford University in the afternoon at a fraction of the price. And really, this is what we want to open up. Like, we've already had our chance to fix the world. It's our young people, the kids of today are going to be custodians of the earth in the future, and we want to make sure that they are the best educated people that have ever lived on this planet, and that's what we're trying to achieve at VR education.
Great, that's fantastic. Okay, so Matt?
Yeah, so great points, everybody. Especially I love the points made around education. So in 10 years, it is our company, a core part of our company culture to truly make this world an educated world. And that's what we've been working on. Education is our most profitable market vertical right now, and we operate in 3. But I can tell you that what I would like, and I see it happening already, is I want our social networks to become knowledge networks. And that's happening right now. So right now, our social networks just confirm our assumptions. Hey, I look great in this fake Instagram post that it actually isn't real. And everybody likes it and says, you look great in this fake Instagram post. What I want is a knowledge network that challenges our expectations and challenges our assumptions. That's happening right now because we have these, you can't see my physical body, you can't see my physical form. I don't know if you're an actual man or a woman, and nor do I really care, actually. So I like that. We also, it's a very much a core part of our company ethos to completely destroy the U.S. federal student loan program. I myself grew up in poverty. Everyone's got their own story, but I could not afford college either. And I deeply wanted to go to college. I went later in life, but I couldn't afford it. So I started a company instead, and it just worked out, but it very well could not have worked out. So there's no reason that you need to go hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt, upend your entire life to get a piece of paper that may or may not guarantee you a job. And let's face it, if you can get a job in political science, I've hired plenty of people with degrees in political science and communications that are software engineers, right? They didn't study software engineering. So I think that just confirms that you can, if you're motivated and self-taught, you can learn a lot, right? I did not mean for that to rhyme, but we want to truly bring education to the world, and I think we can do that. I'm happy. There's plenty of opportunity, by the way, in our space. And this industry has plenty of opportunity for every panelist up here to run their companies and succeed in their companies and do all the things that we want to do. In 10 years, I'd like to say that the last thing I'll say is, in 10 years, I agree totally with Alvin around the pace of growth here. I fully expect in 10 years that someone's going to calculate the cosmological constant of the metaverse, right? They're going to challenge Albert Einstein's equations of general relativity and challenge our knowledge networks, right? I think that's going to happen. I truly believe that. And I think someone's going to do some sort of evaluation of the equations of general relativity with Nick Bostrom's equations. And I think that would be a pretty special thing to happen in 10 years.
That's great. Artur.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everyone who actually said their vision before me. But I think in Somnium space, what we believe, there are two technologies which will transform our world within the next 10 years. And I deeply believe in that. In our company, Somnium Space, we believe in that. Like every employee there really lives it through and believes that. So the first one is virtual reality. Obviously, we believe that, Ready Player One and Snow Crash and all that visions are coming into life. And in terms of that, it's like, we're creating this persistent, huge world where you spawn in the main center, and then you go left and you go there, and you know that there is a university built by someone who has created something on their land, or there is an arcade hall is built by someone else, and you can seamlessly go inside and play and not experience any loading screens. So that is, in our opinion, the kind of the metaverse, and not the metaverse, but the world where people want to be. And the second technology, which we truly believe will transform everything, is blockchain. Blockchain allows you several key things. We talked about identity. You can own your identity. You can own anything you have in virtual world. So the land you own is yours, and we don't control it. The arcade hall, or the car, or the house, or your avatar, that's everything stored on the blockchain. If you combine those two technologies, you give power to people to own things they create, and also to monetize things they create, and also to experience things persistently. So that's what we are working on very hard to make sure that whenever you enter the space, you don't feel limited. You feel like you actually are in a huge, vast space where you can explore and travel and meet new people without any boundaries. And that if you feel like you can monetize your skills and your experiences. So I think those two technologies, the blockchain and VR, will completely transform the way how people perceive social VR in general. And one thing I would like to add, many people think that we are, and I hear that every day, like we are 10 years away or 15 years away from the Ready Player One vision. Actually, in parts, and hopefully some of you who will come on the Saturday's closing event to Somnium says, in part, that's already happening today. This is already possible, and many things which were described, in those books are already happening today, and people just don't know about it. And when people try, and when people go to different platforms, or they go to conference like that, they say, oh yeah, actually, we're living it through, maybe in smaller numbers, but the numbers are growing constantly every day. So that's what I believe will happen.
No, that's fantastic. And Carolina?
Yeah, so I think the next 10 years are going to bring along a lot of iteration as far as hardware goes. And it's going to be hopefully a little more comfortable, a little less clunky, and a little more good looking. But the thing that I am most excited about, and the thing that I think AltSpace is really sort of prioritizing too, as far as our workload goes, is the implications behind how this is going to impact our culture and us as a species. Like, this is going to be our next step in evolution, in human evolution. And I'm really excited by that, because I think right now, if you want to find out about a recipe, right? You want to find out about a certain region or a geographical place, you're kind of left to Google the depths of the internet on your own. Or maybe if you're lucky, you'll connect with a person on a forum or a social media platform. But a lot of that conversation is not happening in real time. You know, you leave a comment, you wait a few hours or a day, or in some cases weeks and months, and then you hear back. But the beauty of VR and the technologies that we're experiencing now is that it's all asynchronous. You know, I'm sitting here on a panel with people from all over the world, and I'm learning from all of these incredible people from the comfort of my own home. And whether I'm learning about, you know, the anatomy of a skunk because I'm in veterinary school, or I'm learning about what it's like for someone with a learning disability, you know, there's a presence and a sense of more deeper understanding and connection that VR makes possible. And I think that, and I hope that it's going to lead for our species and us as people to be more compassionate, more empathetic, and just far more knowledgeable of our own selves. So that's my 10-year
fantastic
vision.
answer.
Maybe can I add one more thing before we open to the audience? Not to your comments specifically, but in general, I want to take I want to take a moment to defend VR hardware a little bit on this panel, because I heard people saying it's not so comfortable, it's expensive and stuff. VR hardware today, maybe it's not perfect, and I think, like, if you talk about mobile phones, they had 10, 15 years to develop, and they're still not perfect, but that's awesome, right? And VR hardware, I think today is awesome. It's already on a level where we can have this seamlessly. The prices are going down constantly, and VR hardware is awesome. And I think companies are working really hard, including HTC, you know, Oculus, to make it even better, and with foldable screens and, you know, more things to come. We saw on CES and other conferences what kind of hardware is being worked on. So I think I would not blame anything on VR hardware in general. I think it's a part which is already kind of solved, but will be solved within a very short period of time. So I just want to end up to say VR hardware is awesome. Thank you.
Sure, that's great. And I think for me, my vision of the next 10 years is a merging of AR and VR hardware. So I think we'll find that, I mean, we've had the Lynx just get announced, which is a merged headset. I wear the Focals by North all day, so I've got a persistent AR headset up already. Then I jump into my Quest or I jump into my Vive. So at the moment I'm sort of separated by two worlds. I want that to merge together so I can, you know, have a pair of glasses, jump into VR when I need to. If I'm at a Starbucks, I can jump in and join a conference at a Starbucks, but then have glasses that give me information around the world. And I think it's going to be inside 10 years.
So Joe, actually, let me interrupt you for a second, Joe.
Yeah,
the good news is, actually, if you wait for it when you wake up in the morning, you will get some very good news. So just watch for some news from HTC coming out this evening.
Excellent. So there's an inside tip. This is a great reason to be at the conference.
I told you.
So,
I can't give you too much details, but I think you'll like what you see.
Excellent. Thanks, Alvin. So everyone make sure you're online early tomorrow morning. Okay, so we're going to open it up to a couple of questions. All right, we've got any questions in the audience?
I think they do, but how do you?
Yeah, I can't turn. It keeps muting on me. So, Daniel, can you turn off the mute?
Yeah, doing it now. 1 second. Sorry.
No problem.
So let me come up. Okay, just a moment. Sorry. Let me close this down here. Right. So participation. Okay. How do I do that? Right. So in terms of asking questions, we have a very good way of doing that here in AltSpace. You should now be able to see to your bottom right the raise hand button. If you click that, we will see that you want to ask a question and we'll come to you one by one. That allows us to switch your microphones free individually and avoid a lot of feedback. So let me just come over here. Joe, I'm going to let you field the questions, or maybe the questions are directed at the panelists. But let's have a look at the first question for now. We have, oh, wonderful, our friend Gold Michael. I think, Michael, are you online now? Try that. Where's Michael? Let us know where you are.
Can everybody hear me? Give me
Yeah,
some
can hear you.
smiley
Yeah,
faces.
lovely.
Okay. Okay, good.
Yeah.
First of all, I don't know if you can see my avatar, my virtual hand is shaking. This is a huge moment. It's 8 o'clock in the morning. I've had my breakfast and I'm listening to all this wonderful experience. I mean, Matt, you touched on something really interesting. It's these fine lines. Because of your life circumstances, you couldn't get the college kind of education that you wanted. And it's those fine lines which really actually kind of get me up in the morning, because I want to go out there and try to use this technology to show people how they can learn or teach in different ways. But the question is, or maybe the advice that maybe others might need in the audience is, how do we mobilize the teachers at the grassroots? Because we spoke before about the wonderful benefits of this technology. We could talk for another 10 hours about that. It's amazing. But are there any kind of thoughts anybody had about how we might be able to mobilize, stimulate people at the grassroots of education to get their hands on a headset, on some content, and try then to be those ambassadors flying the flag for the technology and this new wave of education?
I'll take that one first. I think that's a really important question that Michael brings up. And it's not the student, we had this talk, or we had this discussion earlier, in my talk earlier, and we were lucky enough to have Tom Furness there as well. So we kind of did a little byplay on this, and we had a really deeply meaningful conversation about this. And we all agreed something that we've learned over the last 4 years in my own company, which is you cannot sell the students on it. Don't try to do that. They're already sold on it. You don't need to do that. What you need to do is solve the problems of the instructors. The instructors and the teachers and the educators. Talk to them directly, because they're already time constrained. They already have a million things on their plate. They're already using technology. They're already having bake sales to raise money for pens and papers, right? And here we come in and say, licenses, it's going to change. Wrong approach. So what we've learned to do at my company is we go in and we just ask them 3 questions. We have a very customer-centric business. We say, what do you need? What do you want? And what are you willing to pay for? Those 3 questions, they may not all be answered, but one of them is going to be answered. And it's typically going to be like the what do you need and what do you want? The what do you want to pay for may or may not get answered. But if you can solve their pain points, and if you can provide the instructors a truly ideal experience, then you're off to the races and you're moving the needle in the right direction.
Yeah, we've actually got, so my school's over 400,000 students and over 12,000 teachers. So we're in the process now of rolling out onboarding programs for our 12,000 teachers. We won't be able to get to everybody. Our average age of our teachers is 51. But we're going to share all that information of how we've done that process, and because we are a government organisation, we're free to share everything to the industry. And I think it's really important to make sure that those first experiences we talked about before are valuable and important, but also that they feel like they're experts really quickly. I think that's really valuable. You can't be teaching a student who's running circles around you if you're in a new technology.
Wonderful. Okay, let's see. Thank you for that question, Mike. The question, grassroots is really important. Who else have we got here? We have some wonderful names on the list of people who want to ask questions. I'm gonna, okay. I'm going to ask, no, participation. That was Michael. Who's next? Next up is Amber. And Amber, you should have your microphone on now. Send us some emojis. Amber, where are you?
I'm right here, in the front.
In the front with the red hoodie.
You see me?
With the red hoodie. There you go.
Yes, correct.
Please.
So, and maybe you guys could help point me in the direction of some current apps and technology, because I really haven't been able to find anything. I am an attorney who left my law career to homeschool and take care of my very disabled child. To give you an idea, like we have I have ventilators, oxygen concentrators, the works. I have everything at home. She is a tracheostomy child. But what has happened over the last several years is I've been exposed to this whole new world but otherwise wouldn't have been, but for my experience with my daughter. And that is, there's a litany of children out there who have immunocompromised disorders or artificial airways now that medicine has gone so far otherwise these children simply weren't surviving even 10 years ago, but they are now with the advancement of technology and medicine. One of the ways we're using technology is actually using a speech assistive device for my daughter starting next month. And those tools are all great. VR, though, I really see, I'm really excited about it, but I'm also, I guess, a little frustrated because I do see how it can be used in so many more ways that I don't think are being employed yet. So, for example, with education, the thing I run into with disabled children is by law, they're entitled to the least restrictive learning environment. However, their medical conditions really interfere with that because the public schools generally will not get a handle on simple, like even infection control things that dramatically impact children like mine. And so then there's these other safety issues that have to be balanced. Well, I can see in VR, if we could get some sort of platform, what I would love to do as a homeschooler is develop a co-op platform where I could connect with other parents, for example, and use VR to kind of create a virtual reality least restrictive environment. And by least restrictive environment, I mean where they're actually interacting with other children their age, because children are more likely to emulate what they see from their peers rather than adults. That's why it's so important that they have a learning environment with other children their age. But again, these issues are really hard to move when you talk about immunocompromised or children with artificial airways during flu season. The safest thing for them is to really isolate in the house. But it's developmentally, it's to their detriment. So I'm wondering if there's any apps or platforms out there that can currently that can help with this, or really just what else is being done. One of my questions last night as well was, I'd like to be able to, like for my daughter and I have to travel out of state for her care at times, but then that leaves my 11-year-old, at home with other family. And one of the things I'd love to do with him each night is, read before bed. If there was a platform where we could actually have our eyes on the same book and be reading together. It brings us into the same virtual room with the same content. And I know trademark copyright tends to be the issues relayed there, but then as an attorney, I just have to think that it's as simple as a licensing agreement, potentially even with another big contributor like Kindle or some other company. And I guess I'm throwing a lot at you with this question, but I guess I want to know what's out there that's kind of in this direction, and what's kind of the distance and direction that the industry is trying to take it.
Thank you so much. Who would like to answer that one?
Yeah. I think it is certainly a tough question to answer, but if you're looking for younger kids, Allspace is probably the platform that has the youngest audience to date. So if you're looking for kids roughly the same age as your own child, Allspace would probably be that platform. But if you're looking to set up a private group, places like Roomy and Engage, you can set up private groups and have safe environments where they're password protected. You can even have classrooms running on private servers. But there's not that many younger kids on these platforms to date, because obviously the hardware is expensive, and normally with a lot of the schools that we deal with, the hardware is actually associated with the school and themselves. And I think if you want to email me directly, I can put you in touch with Chris Madston. He's dealing with quite a lot of schools here in the US that maybe there could be a possibility of logging into some of those sessions for your child, really depending on what age the child is. Also, what I feel is a fantastic platform as a resource for parents is YouTube. YouTube VR 360 has some fantastic content, and pretty much you can search for any topic and you'll find 360 videos, and the playback, especially in the last couple of years, the resolution of the cameras that are out there, there's a lot of fantastic content that would be very relevant to any curriculum.
Maybe I'll add maybe one thing. It's fantastic what you do, of course, and it's it's a very hard question to answer. I agree with regarding Outspace, with the younger audience and kind of in terms of the the space feel. I think that would be for kids the best. But what also resonated with me, what you said is, that many of those kids are kind of isolated and have to sit at home, and cannot experience the world and stuff. So, and that's what partly driven me to create Somnium, is like, the ability to explore those vast worlds, and and the sunsets and the water and the fish and everything
Yes.
in one universe with everyone else, and kind of to feel that you had this walk, because that tree 1 kilometer away is there, and there's no texture that you can actually reach the tree and touch the tree. So I think if that's something what is missing for some kids who are isolated at home, I would encourage you to try Somnium, and of course you can contact us directly, or Discord will help you to set up the place and stuff.
And
Thank you
just
very much.
regarding the
Thank you.
storytelling aspect, we're actually building a virtual childcare centre for our childcare students. So that part of childcare is actually storytelling. So we're building a platform that will allow a teacher or a parent to read stories to their children in virtual reality, and an animated version of the story, we're hoping, is going to appear in front of them as they tell the story as well. So
Awesome.
we're probably
Wonderful.
about 6 months away, but yeah, feel free to reach out.
Okay. And that's called what again? I'm sorry.
It's not a platform; it's part of our school, but we'll have those licensed out towards the end of the year. So.
Great.
Thank you, Joe.
No problem.
Wonderful. Okay. We're running over time a little bit, but I want to keep, there's no way in the world that I am shutting this down right now. So we're going to keep going because of the amount of questions we got and the people we got in the room. But I do want to make you aware, once we're finished here, Carlos Ochoa of Madrid, of the VR ARA Association, is going to be holding a session afterwards. So when we're done here, please do him the honor of joining him in that room as well. Let's have the next session, the next question. Thank you, Amber, for that. Let's see who pops up next in the line. JW, our friend Jay. Jay, I think your mic is free now, my friend. Let us know where you are. I think you
were... megaphone for you. Do you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, on the green in the front there, yeah.
Yes, great. Yes. And Amber, my heart goes out to you, and I really do believe that we do need to have a VR platform for kids. The challenge, of course, is the safety of the kids and making sure they're protected, online. And there's so many laws, as you know, as a lawyer, to have to grasp in order to make that possible. But I really do hope so in the very near future, because things like Habbo Hotel and various different, places like that. But the challenges with voice chat, that's the thing. And AltSpace, unfortunately, is 13 plus. So it's for teens, So I don't know what age your child is, but it's 13 plus. But my question for Alvin actually is in regards to another social VR space. And I heard that you had at one point advertised, I saw a video of the Vive Reality space. And I'm curious, is that still in development? And because I looked at the video of that and I loved it. So I'm just curious what the status is with that.
Could you just also explain for people who may not know what Vive Reality is, please? Is Alvin, yeah, you're here, Alvin.
No, he's muted, yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't catch your question because it kept going in and out. So if you could just repeat slowly.
Oh, sure. Okay, my question
Sorry,
is...
could you repeat the question? You were going in and out earlier.
Yes, do you hear me okay now?
Yeah, it seems like I'm getting it. Go ahead, just say it quickly and I'll see what I can answer.
Okay, Vive Reality. Plans for Vive Reality.
Okay. So yeah, last year at CES we announced the initial incarnation of Vive Reality and essentially a new operating system for VR and a new interface. Some of that's been released with the Cosmos. We will continue to roll more of that out in a bigger world. So there's a small space that you can play in right now. I think you guys, if you went to some of the initial version that came out, there is a home space that you get to customize and walk around in, and very soon we'll try to turn that into more of a social space as well. So you can start to invite friends over and have chats and personalize the spaces that you're in. So it's going to take some time to really build out into the ultimate destination of where we want it to be. But I think there's definitely also a lot of other companies here that are even on this panel that are doing a great job in trying to create destinations for people to go to. At some point, all of these worlds will start to connect together, I hope, so that we're not all creating our own kind of separate sandboxes. But I think that the joint effort of this world is going to make that oasis happen. I think that's really the long-term vision is all the worlds that everybody's creating becomes one giant connected world.
Yes, I love that.
Alvin.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, I would agree with that. That's, think about that. Like this, it couldn't have been better said, about us building sandboxes. There's plenty of opportunity for everyone to succeed and connect and become a true ecosystem. If you think about the world in which we live, you might live in, so first of all, none of us are in the same location, physical location, right? But we can travel to that same location because we all live in the UAE and visit Dr. Farid. I can travel to Beijing and visit Alvin. I can do all of these things right now in the current world. We will 100% be doing them in the metaverse, in this virtual reality. So it's not a question of if, it's just a question of when. And I think the when's already happening, actually.
Wonderful.
And I love Daniel mentioned before the talk about having a passport to go to each other as well, which is kind of cool.
Okay.
Great, thank you.
Let's see. Thank you. Let's see who's next on the questions. Let's hear from. Oh, you're gonna love this one, Tom Furness. All right, Tom, your mic should be open. Are you new to the space, Tom? Sorry.
Yeah, we can hear.
Okay.
Yeah, we can hear you.
You can hear me. Okay. My question, I've just been really enjoying this, listening to all the questions and the insights and the vision that all you guys have. And I keep thinking about what would I do differently if I had it to do all over again. And I would like to hear from you guys.
What would we wish you did differently?
I think maybe.
Or what would we do differently?
I think his mic's dropped out. Let's assume he's asking what you would do differently, as opposed to what he would do differently.
Makes sense.
Okay. Well, let's ask Lena.
Be anything. This is completely open.
Okay.
To what it is. Okay.
Let's start with Lena, maybe. Carolina, so I should say.
Yeah, it's a great question. I think we're still in a moment that allows us to continue iterating and improving day by day. And so we're in this really great place where we can still address all the things we do differently. But I think what I would love to see approached differently is accessibility. Just, making VR and mixed reality and augmented reality and all these new technologies just that much more approachable and that much more accessible to a wider variety of audiences. And I think, it's still possible and we're still working on that. So I think, that's what I want to do differently.
David Whelan, how about you? Is there anything you would do differently?
I don't have any regrets. So I am where I am today because of decisions I've made in the past. So there has been maybe missteps here and there, and maybe I've made a few decisions that I might have changed. But really, if you're happy where you are today, really you shouldn't want to change the past. And I think we have made a huge amount of progress at VR education over the past 4 years. Like I literally started without a penny. And then we became the first Irish company to list on the London Stock Exchange in 17 years, and we have 40 staff today. And it's been a quite an epic journey, and there's been dips and dips along the way, and it is really a roller coaster when you're in a business. But from where I am today, from where I was 4 years ago, I'm pretty content. So I wouldn't change. I wouldn't change the past really. Your past really defines who you are today, and who I am today. I'm pretty happy and secure with what I've become.
Thank you very much, David. All right, Joe, should we move to the next question? I think I'm going to.
Actually, I'd like to answer that question real quick.
Please.
I think it's an important question that Tom asked. One thing I would do differently, and I wish we continued as an industry to do differently, is stop replicating the real world in virtual worlds. We don't need legs, we don't need arms, we don't need tables, we don't need chairs. I go back to the Matrix, the Neo, and he's being spoken to by the little bald Buddhist, and he says there is no spoon, and the spoon just bends. That's really important. And Dr. Sana today shared something on Twitter where there was an experience, someone was behind a cage and they needed to grab something on a table that looked very far out of their reach, and they threw their hand at the table, and they grabbed what was on the table and brought it back. That's the power of virtual reality. Nothing is impossible, literally nothing, because it's a 3D generated world. So I wish we would stop. I totally understand simulations, and those are important, and training, and you kind of have to, you do need to replicate the real world if you're training someone how to dig mines, out of from the ground, right? Like that's an important use case. But for many other use cases, we don't need to replicate the real world. And I would just like us to be challenging our assumptions again and being unconventional in our thought processes. And one thing that came up today in education was someone asked the question, well, I can't type in VR, so I can't use it in the classroom. I can't use it to take notes. And my challenge back to him was, don't try. Why are you trying to take notes? Why are you trying to type? So we as an industry should be listening to those challenges from the educators and solving them not in conventional ways, but in highly unconventional and much more valuable ways. So that's kind of what I wish we would do differently.
Thank you very much.
I would like to add to this just a little bit. I actually agree with you. We agree, but partially. I think, and that's coming back to the onboarding process of people into VR, and in general how people and human society works, and what is psychology of us as human beings. I think there is nothing wrong in replicating some things from the real world. I mean, it's still today, and I'm talking from like deep from my heart. When I go to the top of the mountain in Somnium, which you can see in the picture there, and I'm standing on the top of the mountain, and I see people running there and their buildings, and the sunset is coming, and we talk with someone, it takes my breath away, and I'm used to it already there, but it takes my breath away, and I'm honest with you, right? And I think replicating something like that, there's nothing wrong with this. Of course, when we talk about tools and experiences and what we can build with that, absolutely, we have to innovate, and we have to think out of the box, and we have to use VR and 3D worlds in our advantage. But when talking about experiences and how you feel inside some worlds, that I think there's nothing wrong to replicate something which is beautiful already and enhance it maybe.
Thank you very much, Artur. I think we've had everybody speak on this topic. I'm going to ask Dr. Sana Farid. The question was, Tom was asking, looking back on his career, would he do anything differently? Dr. Sana Farid, is there anything in this space that you would do differently on your journey
Can you
with
just
VR?
repeat the question? I'm sorry, can you repeat the question, because I was lagging in and out. So.
Okay, no problem. Tom Furness was asking, on your journey with VR, is there anything that you would do differently looking back?
I think I would, I don't really know how to answer that, just because I am learning every day myself, and learning about the features, learning about the hardware. So what I would do, I think, is that the only thing is that I would encourage to use it more and more to explore. Differently, I don't think so. It's just that I think we would be learning more and more. I can't think of anything different that I would do. It's just improving by the day, software and hardware wise.
Thank you. Okay, great. All right. So we're still going strong in here. Let's see who else has got a question. Thank you for that, Tom. Our friend from Japan, Eric Hawkinson. Your microphone should be free. Let us know where you are, Eric. Where are you? Hey, Eric. Hi.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
If I'm right here, is this all right?
That's fine. Absolutely. Yeah. The floating
Hey, guys.
suits you. A nice pink shirt, by the way.
Since there's a bunch of researcher and business-related people on the panel, I'd like to talk a little bit. Well, my name's Eric from Japan. A little bit about coming from the aspect of a IT facilitator at a larger university. One of the kind of things that I see as a trend is in VR is these kind of bifurcating business models. So like you got the Rumble, like the subscription model for students, and maybe you can have some stuff created on a per basis. But also there's the free model, which is based on grabbing information, collecting data, and sort of monetizing in some other fashion, which is kind of scary as an IT facilitator at a university. And I see like maybe there might be a different way, another way, and I wanted to get your opinions on, as business owners, how you might see this as a possible obstacle to overcome, trying to get this implemented in the more ubiquitous fashion in education, as this is a big concern for teachers as well.
Thank you. Who wants to lead on that? Maybe David?
I think I would just like to add something here, is that absolutely, I mean, throughout the panel, we're talking a lot about the education, and a lot of my friends here, Matt, David, they're focusing a lot on the education. So when we're dealing with institutions, it is solely that we have to empower them, and mainly the educators. It's not just about selling it, they all believe in it, most of them. But the way we are working is that we are taking a comprehensive solution, which means you need to guide them from scratch. This is the first time they're using immersive technologies. So whether it's the hardware part of what applications to use, we need to give them a full picture of how it's going to look like. This is number one. The second thing is that we need to literally empower the educators in some sort of certification and training. Eventually, I want to see that somebody developing immersive learning certification. So the teachers would be empowered to obtain that and benefit from it on a bigger aspect. Then when it comes, I think the experience part comes in the end. You first of all have to educate.
Oh, I think we lost Dr.
No.
She'll come back.
She was in the right middle of something good there too.
Yes.
Hey, Eric, I actually wanted to answer your question. I've been thinking about this a little bit. In fact, when I was doing my talk a couple of days ago, one of the books I recommended everybody read was Diamond Age. And in Diamond Age, there's a type of people called Raptors, people who essentially are in VR, but they act for other people in their virtual reality as a real person, and they help to enhance that reality. And they can also be used as teachers to guide people in their virtual experiences. And those actors actually make money from interacting with other people's virtual realities. This actual model right now is already happening today with in China with something called VIP Kid. They have 70,000 teachers around the world that are teaching English to students over video. And there's one-on-one teaching, and they'll give these teachers, $10, $20, $30 an hour to interact with these students in their natural language, right? So I think that actually can be a very viable model. This company is now a unicorn billion-dollar company based on exactly the revenue model that's in a book that was written 20 years ago. So I think that we're going to see a lot of new business models and new businesses come out of this industry that we haven't thought about and that don't exist today. So what you're asking is actually a very important question, and if we can find out what the revenue models will be in this new metaverse, those are going to be the next billion-dollar or trillion-dollar companies.
If it's okay, I can give another example to kind of put my question in better context. Recently, we were having a debate at our university whether to take on a plagiarism checker based on an AI algorithm. And part of that contract is that the plagiarism checker company gets rights to all the essays and things that gets distributed to help train their AI. And there's a lot of my colleagues that say that's either unfair to the students, that their stuff gets used to be trained AI and creates value, and therefore, and we're also having to pay for the service at the same time. And I worry and I have slight concerns whether sometimes in these AR environments, VR environments, that similar AI trainings or data can be constructed to create value, enrich the freemium model that I talked about before might not be able to see. If that makes any sense.
Okay. Thank you very much. All right, we have a couple of more questions, and as much as I would love to run this all day, thank you. I think we maybe have, let me just see how many more. We've got 2 more now. I'm going to let these 2 go, and then I think we're going to have to, sad as it is, bring it to a close. Oh, our friend Amanda Fox. Where are you, Amanda? Let us know where you are. Amanda, are you with us?
Yeah, sure.
There you are, at the back in the red. There you go. Hi, Amanda.
Hi.
Lovely to have you.
Hey, how are you?
Very well.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So I just wanted to comment. I don't necessarily have a question, but as an educator, I consider myself a grassroots educator. So I started a company called Steampunk CDU with its education with Edge. It's all about taking technology on the peripheral of mainstream and finding the best pedagogical practices and integrating it into mainstream. I've been in the classroom, like I just got back out of the classroom. I thought I could do it again. Nope, I couldn't. There are a couple different reasons why VR hasn't kind of gotten folded in mainstream. One, I've been in a school where the leadership is like, yes, let's do it. There's budget issues. 2, I've been in a school where teachers want it, but there's vision issues. And then there's also content issues. There's not enough content out there right now. There's not enough ambassadors who are creating the content in order to fold it in and give the PD. So coming from the education background, those of you who are developers, who have companies, who have businesses, get those educators in your pocket, the ones that are disruptors, who are divergent thinkers, get them in, let them develop content for you, treat them amazing, and they will tell your gospel to the world. They will be your biggest advocates.
Good point.
That's it. That's all I've got. Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda. Thank you, Amanda. And can I just say, Amanda is going to be running the first ever Pitch Fest in VR that we're aware of on the Rumi platform. Amanda, can you share with us when that is, please?
I see you.
Yeah. Let us know when that is, please.
Hey, Amanda.
Pacific Standard Time. When's your Pitch Fest, Amanda?
Are you kidding me? I'm like a day ahead ever. I think it's Friday.
Okay. Okay.
I still have tomorrow to get through.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much, Amanda.
One thing I'll comment on Amanda's comment is she's absolutely correct. You know, we're seeing this, and everything that she just mentioned, we've experienced trying to sell into educational organizations. And I'll be very frank, we don't have a lot of success selling into the K through 12 market, so we have just stopped trying, and we just give our software away in K through 12. So if you want it, we're going to give it to you for free.
Wow.
Because there's no money there. But in higher ed, I mean, they're pretty much swimming in cash in a lot of higher ed because they're very well run, very profitable businesses, the higher education market. And so they understand what we're doing. But it's just like selling into the enterprise. If you can identify where the resistance to buy is, you can start solving a problem, right? So with the education, solve their pain points, provide an ideal experience. But like in the enterprise, you've got corporate trainers who may have come from education, and now they're in adult education, and they're corporate trainers at Amazon and IBM and McLaren Automotive. And these are all customers of ours that I'm talking about. their resistance to buy may be, well, you have to go through a security audit, or we're on a CapEx model, or we're on an OpEx model. So while there's people there's people that want to buy and want to adopt your hardware and software, it's going to hit a brick wall when it comes to an approval. And we're seeing that. So getting a champion like Amanda is a truly wonderful champion of the technology, and she is an ambassador of the technology. You can get people like that that can talk that talk. They can help you sell it in a way that's actually meaningful, not just profitable, but meaningful, that will develop into something profitable.
Thank you. Okay, so we have one more question. For those of you who have more questions, I apologize profusely, but we will have to bring this session to an end at some point. Maybe we can do this again sometime. I would love that. So I'm going to bring up the last question now from Christy, please. Your microphone should be on. Christy, let us know where you are. Where are you?
Yes, hi.
Give us some emojis. Some emojis so we know where you are. Lovely, in the front row. Okay.
Yes. So I had a comment and question, especially primarily for Artur. I'm extremely excited to see this merger of two tech spheres that I'm really passionate about. I see the mission of both VR and blockchain as being to improve access and the experience of that access, taking people to new places to learn, and to allow communities to take control of how their information is shared and bring currency to a global level that everyone can share in. So I think this is particularly exciting because I know, and as I know you know, blockchain is not just about money, but it's about the distributed, immutable nature of managing information. And this information could be anything. So that leads me to my question. I wonder if in Somnium, if there's been any discussion of possibly adding some sort of way to track certifications or people's progress in the VR world, kind of to validate them as knowledge experts. So for instance, their expertise and their knowledge could in a way become a currency, and then those people could end up meeting up with other people in the VR world to share that knowledge.
Absolutely. Thanks for your comment and for the question. Regarding the question, in general, what blockchain allows, and you know it, it's there is a possibility to track almost any kind of progress and to kind of almost physically validate that that's true. Be it your karma level, so how people can trust you based on many different levels and indicators, to how knowledgeable you are about the world you're in right now, and later maybe for educators to have certificates or to have tokens which allows them to kind of prove that what they are saying is true and that they are knowledgeable in some or other respect. Like what we're doing today, of course, that's the first step in the blockchain. Whenever you're in Somnium and you go inside and you see an art, for example, someone has created an art and put it on the blockchain token, you can come to that art in the gallery in VR, you can click on that art and you see who is the creator of the token, who is the owner of the token, what is the history of the token, what was the price if there was a price, and everything else. So I think implementing these kind of things is inevitable. We are working on this karma level where, based on what people do inside the world, their level is growing, and then other people can see that. I think what you're saying is inevitable in the let's say mid to near future happening, and the blockchain allows us to do that, and that's amazing.
Thank you very
much. I hope I answered your question.
Yes,
wonderful.
Thank you.
Okay, and with that, thank you, Artur. Thank you for all your questions. And with that, we're going to start bringing the session to an end. So let's give it up for the guests, please, for the panelists. Absolutely amazing to have you all in the same place. I don't know how we would do this in the real world. And I want to also thank especially Joe Millward of TAFE New South Wales fielding the questions and the panel in the beginning. You did a stellar job, Joe. Joe, thank you very much. Yeah, you're getting a handshake there from Alvin. Lovely. Now's a good time to take selfies. Alvin, if you just want to come back on your chair, we're going to take some selfies quickly. So yeah, everybody, now's a good time for selfies and emojis. So I'm taking one of the stage. Wonderful. Let me try and take another one there. Everybody, just very quickly. Okay. So then let me just jump back up on here. Exactly, selfie time. Hashtag Summit Selfie. And I want to individually thank Alvin. You've been a wonderful guest to have on this panel, but also your keynote speech is fantastic, which, by the way, now is up on YouTube, the full version. Thank you for that. Matt Chacon, you've been amazing, and there's a couple more sessions to come on the AltSpace, on the Rumi platform. Thank you for your collaboration and support of this event. Artur, we're really, really looking forward to the Rock Out the Summit and the launch of Somnium Space on Saturday. Make sure you check that out on the website. There's no link, you just turn up, but you do need
Actually,
to make sure
our
it's all
official
installed.
public launch is today. On Saturday, we're hosting your closing event. So yeah, we have, we've launched already a year ago, but today we're rolling out publicly the V2 version, which is basically the persistent world. And already now you can go inside and actually experience buildings of other people.
Excellent. And then a huge big thank you also to Carolina from AltSpace. What you have allowed us to do here, a 6-day conference, 24/7, is absolutely spellbinding. We love collaborating with you. Thank you so, so much. We love AltSpace. We love all the platforms. Like you said, this will be connecting. Thank you. And before you all go, remember that Carlos Ochoa of the VRARA Association is waiting eagerly now for you. He has delayed his talk in understanding that people would want to be here. He has delayed his talk. Please, please, please make your way over to the other room now and join his talk. We're going to keep rolling. We have events throughout the rest of the day today into tomorrow. We're going hard until Saturday, and then I'm going to sleep for a week. I'll be honest. All right, one more big round.
Alvin.
Yes, thank you so much, guys.
Okay. I've got a message as a good message. I'm going to go actually just round the back of the stage, and I'm going to try and drop a portal to Carlos's event, which means you can just jump in and go straight there. So let's try and do that now. Thank you, everybody.
Cool.
Thank you.
See you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Awesome event. Thank you very much.
Wonderful.
Nice
Thank
job.
Hey, Carolyn, what is the best way to contact you to discuss the interoperability and stuff? We're part of the Microsoft for Startups as well. So
all right,
we could,
Amanda.
kind of find a ways to.
Let's see if I can draw a portal.
Yeah, definitely. You can always shoot me an email.
So,
It's just
thanks, everybody.
KA at Microsoft.
So what was the email?
Sure, it's KAMANKO at
Hello.
Microsoft.com. I'll also send you.
Does Daniel knows your email? I'll try to connect for him because that will be the easiest way. If he knows your email.
Lovely.
I'll send it to you in a message so you have it. But I would love to connect. I think that's a great idea. And yeah, my door is always open, and I'm always up chatting more.
I think we're gonna go.
All the things you're working on are so fascinating.
Absolutely, we should definitely think how people can, just.
Hey everybody, you got your voices back. Anybody on Megaphone, please disengage
So wait a second,
Megaphone.
you are sending me. Okay. 1 second, I'll try to write it down.
There we go. Let's go.
Oh, hey. No, it's okay. Definitely.
I'm so grateful for you doing that.
Education in VR in schools. So having a space here that they can all jump into. That was just amazing. It's funny how he mentioned
VIP kid
I think it was
and
very
the
ambitious
opportunity to
vision
teach
stuff.
ESL VR. I'm like, that sounds familiar.
Honestly, I mean, this summit is truly, truly, like, I mean, cool.
No,
It's
there's
such
many
a,
of them. There's Dada, ABC
you know,
Go.
Yeah,
it's such a
understatement.
yeah, totally. It's like,
Yeah,
Been
it's
an ESL instructor
mind-blowing,
for
it's
about 4.5
amazing, it's
years
cool,
now.
but also
So
it's just
what
so
I'm doing
important,
here in
right?
Miami in
Like,
the Latin
here we are
community is
having
through
these
my company, I'm
summits that
actually
are, you know,
introducing
I come
ESL
from
in a
event
virtual
production
reality
in
environment,
real life. Like, I've helped
where I
produce
could
these
upload
real-life
worlds
conferences
through
for
Unity,
thousands of
custom
people. So the
worlds.
amount of work that goes
I'm
into
actually doing a
that
presentation
is
about it here
insane.
at
The
Educators
amount
in
of work
VR
that went
tomorrow
into
called the
this is
Positive
often
Environment.
a small
He's
feat,
on
but,
at
you know,
9,
you're
right?
making possible something.
So I got a lot of pressure.
Wait.
Okay, I got a lot of pressure, but anyway, I have good news for you.
Perfect.
So I hope that you enjoy the session, but the most important thing is that we can interact and we can share experiences. Okay, it's not like an old professor in the backstage talking about he is very old, he has a lot of experience and blah 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 blah. You know.
Blah blah. Very cool.
So I think we can wait for, let's say, we can start at 9 o'clock in the morning in Spain. I think it will be 12 in the States and 8 in London. We have people from different. Where are you from?
Anyone in Europe? Who's in Europe?
Anyone in Europe?
Give some hearts. Okay, we got Europe. Okay, America, States, stateside.
Most, yeah, okay.
Asia, anyone in Asia? Oh yeah, I should probably put my makeup on. Well, it's probably the best thing I'm quiet.
Audio, fine.
So, okay, maybe you can make a brief introduction of yourself, what you are doing in VR, in education, what are your experiences, and then I think will be better for the presentation. It's up to you. Hi.
Yeah.
Okay,
Should I
Michael.
start?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, thanks, Carlos. Thanks everybody for being here. Wow, what a great event this is. We're halfway through and there's no going back. There's no stopping us. Yeah, my name's Michael McDonald. I'm from London originally, living in Italy, in a little place called Lecce down in the southeast. I don't know if you know it. And I use VR to teach English as a foreign language and doing some research in this field as well with some universities in Italy and also UCL in London, just to explore the way that these collaborative experiences can support the way that we learn and teach English as a foreign language, and obviously other languages as well could learn from that process that we're trying to put together. So great to be here and nice to hear from everybody else.
Okay, great. I think we can talk a little bit about that, some experiences that we made with kids and how to create value about integrating VR with creative English lessons and environment. Well, yeah, I think it's a huge open window in this place. Yeah. Anybody else?
I'm probably too quiet here, but yeah, so I work use VR for promotional events and I create virtual worlds in different social VR platforms. Microphone? Presentations. Oh, megaphone maybe I should put on, yeah.
Hello, can you speak a little bit louder?
Yeah.
You can hear me now.
Better. Michael, turn your volume up. Turn your volume up if you can. All right. I think we had some audio issues there. Do you want to move on, Carla, and let that person turn their volume up?
Is it working?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No audio. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Good. Yeah. Just keep moving. I think that speaker had audio issues.
Okay. Can you hear me well?
I can hear you.
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. Perfect.
Yeah.
So in 3 minutes we should start. Okay. Hi, Daniel.
Yeah. Great. Hi, Carlos. ¿Cómo estás? ¿Estás bien?
Muy bien, estupendamente. Thank you very much for the support. Great.
Great. Absolutely. Thank you for being a part of it. I mean, the people who have come together for this, wonderful, yeah?
Yeah, it's really my pleasure, really. I told to Laurel, I'm really happy to be here.
Yeah, I was talking to Tom Fernandez, and we were saying how I think we've caught the attention of a lot of people and the industry. I think we've started something, and this is something we need to develop now, yeah?
Yeah, so absolutely. Yeah,
more to come.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Okay.
Thank you, Daniel.
I'll let you get ready. All right.
Okay.
De nada, mi amigo.
Gotta do a week long.
I'm not sure if we should start or we can wait for 2 minutes, because Laurel told me that the other session was very close to end, but I don't know how it works.
The other session has finished. Yeah, I think the other session has finished. You're good to go now.
Okay. Yes, because I think you are here waiting, so okay, it's time to start. Okay. Okay, thank you, everybody. So I think it's good if you can go down, and then I can feel everybody's closer to me, because otherwise I can see a lot of empty places here, and it will be better. Okay. Okay, please, Damon, next slide, please. Okay, let me tell you some words about myself for those who really don't know me. My name is Carlos Ochoa Fernandez. I'm the chapter president of VARA in Madrid, and I'm the co-chair of the VARA Education Committee since the last 3 years. Also, I'm member of Immersive Learning Research Network and the ICC Cycle, and I'm supervisor of XR projects for the Swiss Foundation and the Canada Hub in Alberta. And I've been involved in the VR, AR, and let's say market or environment since the last 20 years. So my background is I'm an engineer, so I've been working in public works for many years. Then I moved to Siemens, and I started to work with IT systems in the geographical information systems, integrating vector data with photogrammetry and geodesy. And then I decided to build up my own company just 10 years ago, starting in learning management systems, and we built an amazing company in the early 20s about VR, and we were focused in cultural heritage. We rebuilt a lot of Asian cities around Spain with amazing projects, but because the crisis was very deep in Spain as in the world, we have to close the company. It was a pity. We were around 50 people working, engineers working in this sector with amazing experiences in education, in cultural heritage, and so on. But here we are again, starting and rebuilding myself. Now I'm a grandfather, so I have, believe me, I really feel like a child when I'm in this environment with all of you. And I would like to share some experiences, real projects. I'm not going to sell you anybody. I will be really very, very honest, talking about experiences and how is the vision, and the barriers or the problems and the issues that we will find or we can find in this environment. Next, please. Okay, what I'm trying to do with all of you is to try to make a journey beyond imagination, okay? So we want to change the rules. And when I say we, believe me, we need to change the rules. This is not because the industry is going to change education, absolutely not. Education is a system that comes from the government, but in the way that we help the educators to understand the value of the technology and how we can engage all this stuff, we will improve, but not with words and theory, just with facts, which is really the most important issue. Please, next. So in this journey, I've been, yes, in this slide, well, I will publish in a slide, share all these slides and send, and then you can use it if you want, okay? We were involved in different programs since many years ago about cultural heritage. I was managing a congress about cultural heritage and virtual reality, how to create content and how to build up projects with different technologies. Then we started 5 years ago with the Smart Education Labs project, implementing this concept in the schools of Emirates, based in our experiences in UK and in Spain. And then we have been working with new technologies, and our focus is always innovation. Innovation. We want to anticipate solutions for the real society in the world, in the way that we can benefit the complete next, please, the community, the complete community. Next, please. So I'm really I'm in love with this picture, you know. When I saw, because this picture, believe me, is the beginning of this new wave VR revolution. So VR is not new for sure. We know that old people, I used to say I came in from Jurassic Park. So I started in VR when Steven Spielberg started with the Silicon Graphics computers to create these amazing worlds, and we were working with those amazing worlds and we were developing such kind of tools. But when I saw this picture and the people from Africa moving their heads and their mind to the other world, I said, that's it. That's it. Okay? So the true sign of intelligence is not knowledge, but imagination. And we are going to talk about imagination. Next, please. Yes, can you put the next slide, please? Yes, please. We have lost. Okay, I will try to go, but with the slides it's a little bit complex. Okay, doesn't matter. Okay, the thing is that since I saw this picture and what's going on during the last, let's say, 5 years, that now it seems that a lot of people discovered what is virtual reality. The disruptive element was the mobile, the smartphone. This was the disruptive element that it showed us the potential of the technology, that instead to use a complex device, a complex computer, you can use it in a smartphone, okay? But with devices that are very, very far away from the technology. But it was a good starting point. So in this slide, I want to ask you if you are agree with all these issues. For instance, the people think that the VR, ER is not a new isolated tool, platform, tech in education. Why we are talking only about VR in education? No, it's okay now, okay? So VR is not that part of the education system is a part of complex system. It's expensive? Why is it expensive? Why you said it's expensive? Compare to that. Because if we are going to change the environment and we have to make some investment, what is the value and the benefit of the technology? How much costs a laboratory? Or how much costs some spare parts or some part of your school that if you want to create a new environment? It costs a lot of money. So the technology is only a small part, but the value, the return of the investment is really potential. Are you ready for it? Or you are only buying systems, devices, and you put it on your head, you download free apps just for nothing, and then you say, okay, I tried. This is something that we are evaluating in our research from VR AR Association, and we are getting involved and invite you to participate in this research, which is worldwide, and we want to know directly from teachers and educators how the perception. And believe me, the information that the response that we are getting provides a lot of value that we want to share with all of you, because maybe your minds are going to change quite a lot. Do you really have a 3-5 years program, or you only want to see how much it costs and what we are going to do? Yesterday I have been in a meeting with HP and some universities around Spain, and they were working in isolated islands. So they were working only in the small spaces, talking about their amazing things, but there was no connection from one university to the other, and very far away from the industry. What is really crazy, nobody is working in the network. Nobody. So you cannot talk about technology if you are not on the network. For instance, more of the startups working in VR are very small companies connected all around the world with people from the States, people from Europe, and then you need to work with all these people around the world. So you have to train your students to connect with people and students from other parts, because they are going to work like this. So the companies of the future will no longer be like they are right now. Will be small companies that they have to fight in the global environment, and they have to compete between each other. So the global is really a passion, but it's really tough, and you have to train your students to understand that. So I'm going to show you some pictures that I took from some experiences, maybe you know more or not, about how they are implementing VR in the schools. And for me, it's really a very, very bad experience. Please, next slide, please. Okay. Now it's because the wow effect, you can see in the magazines, in the news, a lot of images like that. Japanese students and schools in virtual reality. Do you think it's a good case where you can see all the students sitting in the chairs like if they were crazy, or with only one movement with the heads sitting down, like if you are watching me? Where are the movements? Where is the immersion? So they don't have headset, so they cannot hear anything, or if they can hear, they interact. The sound is interacting between each other. This is a very bad example. Next one, please. But it's really an experience. Or this, UK students attend virtual reality classroom. Do you think that this is serious? Believe me, do you think this is a way to start to teach students sitting down on the floor without any ability to move around the space or to turn around the head, I used to make some, when I am working with the students, I used to put the headset in a chair that they can move around like this, And then I said, please move your head up, down, left, right. And they said, wow, this is different. I said, different to what? This is virtual reality. You are in an immersive environment. Or what was your experience? And this is something that now is very, very tough to fight against these bad experiences, because many teachers thought that they have experience and they have been working with virtual reality with examples like that, which is really very poor. And this is very a drama that we have to change. How? We will see. Please, next. But it's not only in UK. Sometimes we see this is in Vancouver. You think that if we want to disrupt the environment, you can put in the chair, in the table, the students without any possibility to move around. In which way they are going to understand the technology if they are working in the same way that they worked in the past? Please, next slide. Or like this, the kids without any experiences. 50,000 schools through using Google Expeditions. Great. So we lost 50,000 opportunities. You know, this is really a drama. So this is something that we have to change. And close to that is part of our effort, in VR AR Association. I spent more than 1 year working in the best practices white paper just to create a guide to help the teachers to understand how to improve VR AR in the schools and the benefits, how to create an ecosystem, how to understand the technology, and how to interact with the industry, which is the main issue. Next slide. Well, I think we can go faster because, oh yes, this is very nice. I like this one. Professor develops VR application to help children to cross the street safely. Sure? Can you see that picture? And they are going to understand how to cross the street safely. My God, I can imagine, you know? So there are a lot of examples like that. So when teachers look at that pictures or those examples, what I'm going to do against that? Okay, we go to look for some solutions. Okay, next slide, please. There are a lot of very worst cases. This one, next slide, please. Next one, please. Or for instance, this picture when the teachers go to the theater and then they prepare in the hall some students to understand the interactivity in the theater, and they are moving like that. So this is not comfortable. This is not the way we can use the technology. It's like if you are going to learn to drive a car and you are playing with like kids with the small tools or small cars at home. It's not the same, you know? Please, next slide. We go to the solution. Yeah, you see that picture. We are working in the same way that when computers started in the universities or in the industry. So we need to understand that we cannot move in the same way. Disruption is disruption. So disruption is not to change the computer for the headset. It's to change the ecosystem and to change the complete environment in the way that we are going to work with that, okay? Because the industry already is using the technology because they have to improve, they have to compete, they have to reduce cost, they have to innovate in the processes. So we have to do the same in the education. And believe me, when I talk with some managers about innovation in education, they told me that innovation is not an issue in the universities or in the schools. And I said, yes, if you want to prepare the students for the society, the real needs, then you have to work with the leading technology. Otherwise, when they finalize the studies, what are they ready for? You know, next slide, please. Okay, so no, we don't want to work never more like this, okay? We have to prevent to work in that way. I know for sure that are many industry companies forcing to sell a lot of devices to say that they are very successful because they are using in the schools and blah, 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 blah. But we are talking about only the ecosystem. But what about the content? What kind of content can you imagine that is included in those devices? If they cannot move around themselves or they cannot interact, they cannot hear, where are the senses? I will tell you something. You know the cone? The cone of Dale? About the curve of learning with, yeah, sure, you know. I hate that because you can do everything without technology. Everything. So the thing is, when we talk about benefits, it's because we need to use the technology in 100% benefit. Otherwise, where is the concept, you know? So next slide, please. There are some very, very critical issues. Some people say, okay, VR, AR is very expensive. We cannot buy devices. Or how you are going to manage in Africa, on South America, or in poor countries. Please look at that picture. Students in Africa, they are in an open environment. They have an antenna and then they have the small computers. So imagination, we as leaders, we have really a mission. And we have to provide technology and to train the teachers to use the technology in a better way, just to democratize the education. So we cannot create new barriers with VR, AR, because we have the opportunity to use this technology to break all the barriers right now. And it's not the question if you are working with Oculus or HTC Vive or HP, forget it. Use your imagination. And I will show you how. Please, next. Okay, well, this is not clear, but it's only a picture just to give you an idea what is an ecosystem, okay? Because when I saw in some schools or universities that they are using the technology, they buy the devices and they start to make programs with Unity, Unreal, or whatever, without understanding the rest of the environment. What is digital content, how to use the content, how to integrate the content in an LMS, how to integrate the content in the curriculum, how to reuse the content, and how to create a repository, how to integrate the libraries. So this is part of the complete ecosystem. It's not an isolated environment. Believe me, if we think that VR, AR is an isolated environment, then it's very expensive, it's uncomfortable, we will never find the content, and this is the drama. So change the rules in the way that we are going to use a disruptive technology. Next slide, please. Okay, there are very, very important things that we have to focus on just to start to understand how to create a VR, AR ecosystem in the schools, okay? These are the 6 mega trends in the education, and they are interconnected. We are talking about artificial intelligence, we are talking about the classroom as a set of devices, we are talking about the VR, AR technology, gamification, personalized learning, and redesigning the learning spaces. Okay. How many of you have heard about Hyper Aula project? Nobody? Nobody? Oh, okay. Hyper Aula is a new concept of, let's say, intelligent, smart schools where different organizations around the world, different universities from States, from Canada, from Europe, decided to create specific areas, smart education areas, to build up new environments. We are close to one in Spain, but there are 3 in California, in Vancouver, I think, there are some experiences. And this is a new opportunity to create these new ecosystems, but you need to train the teachers how to understand this environment and how to use the technology in that environment, okay? So at the end, we have a new disruptive environment where we are going to integrate different technologies just because we want to train or to teach the students to resolve real life problems. No, because we want to teach them how to use the Oculus Go, how to use Unity, or how to use that blah, 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 blah. We want to resolve real life problems. And that's the issue. Next slide, please. So when I've been talking with many of you, one of the main barriers is because we don't find right content, okay? Or the content is very expensive, or we have to pay for the content. Believe me, content is expensive. Why companies like Oxford University Press or Cambridge University Press or all the big publishers are working in this business? Because they publish, they create content, and you are ready to pay for, because they are working with books or ebooks or whatever. So when if we need digital content or interactive content or simulators, it costs money. So then some teachers said, okay, we can build up our own content and we can benefit of that. And they said, okay, are you sure you're ready to create your own content? Do you think that you understand all the rules to build up this kind of content? How will benefit the students? So you can have games, you can have 360 videos, experiences, apps, labs. So there are many types of content that you can, but what the definition of content is really an issue, and how to build up this content is really an issue. Believe me, I will show you what are the most important topics about content in VR. Next slide, please. Okay, we are talking about the benefits of new smart ecosystems, but if we want to improve the learning process, we need to engage the people with as many senses we can interact. So with the Dole cone, we see, okay, because in the past the students were reading books, now they have videos, but most of the applications that you are using in schools are using the same technology, but with the VR glasses. So no value. So you don't have interactivity, you don't have sound, you don't have immersive sound. So how many senses are involved in your applications? So you have to interact with the people and you have to move around that. So otherwise, we are not ready to interact, we are not ready to create value with our students. So 5 senses is really an issue. So when you are going to prepare something, you need to think about that. Otherwise, you are only making videos that the difference between 360 videos or flat videos is no value about that, you know? And what about another issue? Next slide, please. Wow, I love this one. Have you heard about the hierarchy of needs in virtual reality? Any of you? Yeah? No one? Okay. So if we want to get benefit of that, we need to understand this pyramid. So many people, when they start to make content in their schools with some tools, I will not promote any tool about that, they said, okay, I really have problems with sickness, or I really don't understand how to move around, or I don't know how to interact. Okay, if you are not able to go to the delight cone, where you have the, let's say, the artistry capability, you are not going to produce good content. can be in the presence level, interoperability, usefulness, but you need to understand this parameter. Otherwise, you are not able to create your content, okay? Okay, I will go faster because I have a lot of things to say. Please, next slide. Well, now we are in immersive environment. We are in outer space. And there are a lot of risks. And Tom was in this amazing presentation the first day talking about we are playing with fire. He was talking about that, the potential risk of immersive learning platforms. You know that there are different trends in the world about bring your own device. I'm really a believer of bring your own device at the school. But many countries are forbidden the possibility to the students to go inside the classroom with the mobile. So instead of teach the students how to use the device, they decided to forbid, to say you are not allowed because you are wasting time with the device. How we can understand that? You know, so this is crazy because in your device you can teach from the very beginning, from the first level, the students how to create value, how to use the content, how to learn lessons, how to benefit of the technology, and how to work with ethics, which is really an issue. So train the teachers to train the students and the parents how to use the mobile device, because this will reduce the cost of investment quite a lot. So next slide, please. Okay, and what about the ethics? When the people, yesterday I was talking with some universities and they said, okay, we have some problems with bullying, we have some problems with blah, 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 and these things. How do you prevent that when you are creating content? Okay, don't worry about the slides because I will publish in a SlideShare and you will see with a complete quality. And if you want to know more about that, you can touch with me and I am quite open to talk about that, okay? So human rights, morality, mentality, responsibility, this is something that when we are creating environments, platforms or whatever, we have to understand. Otherwise, we are under high risk. And this is something that Tom was talking about the first day session. Next slide, please. Please, next. Okay, so and now, okay, we know the problems, we know the barriers, but where are the solutions? Is there an open space for sure? And this is, sorry, this is one of the main topics of our association and myself. I have a compromise with the society, I have a compromise with all of you, and it's trying to benefit, try to explain, because I've been working many years in the industry, and I've been working with training companies, I've been working in the e-learning environment, I've been assisting some governments as consultant, and we know for sure how to help you to understand how to build up an ecosystem. So the human relationship, which is very important, how to establish human relationship in this new environment. Or we need a space where we can move freely, okay? And we can interact between each other, okay? And the point of view, the functionality, where the students can move around themselves and they can move in one direction and another direction, and they can feel really they are in immersive space, okay? They don't need to believe, they need to feel they are inside. They have to interact with the devices. We need to create real situations. When I talk with teachers and about their projects, believe me, I can see many projects all around the world doing the same. If they were inventing something new, I say, please use the network. Instead of losing your time or trying to discover something, talk with the people all around the world, and then you can benefit of the knowledge, and then you can try to incorporate your experiences, your knowledge, your ideas. But innovation is really an issue, so you have to talk with that. And believe me, you need to work with the 5 sense learning environment or interact at least with minimum 3 senses, okay? And the age is really a topic, it's really an issue. You cannot put a headset to kids below 30 years, okay? They don't understand what's going on. So they are really confused. Maybe they are very, confused because they think, oh, I've been in the ocean, I've been in Egypt, blah, 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 blah. But it doesn't work like this, okay? Please, next slide. Okay, so when we talk about VR, we can start from scratch, or we can start with the situation that we have in our schools. So then the ecosystem, we have to define in any case an ecosystem. And to work with an ecosystem, believe me, you don't have a project. You don't have a clear idea or clear picture what you want to do, forget it. You are going to waste your time and waste your money. Then you need to reinvent your space. You need spaces where you have chairs that the students can move around, they can move, they can feel they are inside, and they can really believe that they are in another world and interact with real applications that are proving value. Next slide, please. Yes, so in this project, I told you, I mentioned before, Hyperaula, the people is working in spaces like that. And we were involved in one project like this for the Ministry of Education in Emirates during the last 4 years. And I will show you some pictures how we built this environment and all the process to implement the project and how and the values that we get and the benefit that the students get from this project. Next slide, please. Okay, next slide, please. We in this environment, in this Educators in VR Congress, next slide, please. We are using Outerspace, we are using Engage. So, what, yes, I will go there. I will be close to you, yeah? So, okay, we are here, but we don't have too many tools to interact, okay? So, just 20 years ago, in my past company, we started to think how to build up ecosystems in the way that the students can interact with real world. And we developed different platforms. In those platforms, we had libraries, we have publishers, we have printers, we have avatars, we have a lot of tools that created a lot of value for the students. It was developed 20 years ago. So when you were in this environment in the schools, you can see here that you have the library, that you have different PCs, we have help, like it was a dragon, and you can move around the space, and we built different VR scenarios very close to the schools in the way that they could walk around the national parks and to understand the environment, and they can, the teacher can put all the students around this environment, and it was developed 20 years ago. And you didn't need any kind of glasses, just a computer, a big screen, and you can share all these experiences. So what we learn from that? Now I think that we are really under a wow effect because here we are in this space or engaged environment, but the value, we cannot, believe me, we don't have all those tools that at least are the minimum tools that you need to work with the students. And this is something that we are working right now with some companies in the way that we want to rebuild those scenarios. Next slide, please. This was another one. This was the City of Energy, and we have a small Einstein, and we develop applications in the way that you can visit some houses, some industries, just to teach all the students how to understand how the real life works. And we develop a lot of interfaces and a lot of simulators about the energy, windmills, and so on and so on. And this was developed and implemented in Spanish schools 20 years ago. Just 20 years ago. Okay? Next slide, please. Okay. One thing that we have been involved during the last 2 years was a project from the European Mission, because there is a fact. The society, the industry is looking for professionals in the AR, VR environment. Okay? So the schools, the vocational training centers, and the universities need to train people for real life cases. So what we did, we worked with teachers from Estonia, Lithuania, Germany, and Spain, and for vocational institutions and education, 10 centers, just to understand the problems with the teachers and the problems with the schools, in the way that we need to provide a methodology, we need to provide them tools, we need to understand the real problems they had already in the schools, and we want to provide solutions to expand the complete ecosystem in their countries, and then to start this program in the schools and to get the feedback to make a new improvement in the project. Okay? So this is a picture how the project Jobs for Tech started in Estonia, and the results were, believe me, really amazing. They started building a new ecosystem with the new spaces, with a pilot project with the students, and just in 1 year they were growing like hell. The impact was so amazing that, believe me, I'm really happy about the result of this project, because they were using this methodology, and the students are really making an impressive evolution, and the results were absolutely amazing. So what's going on? They are working in arts, they are working in photography, they are integrating social media. So at the end, what we did is to understand the soft skills of the teachers, and we built up a new curriculum where we merged technology with soft skills, just to understand in the way that we have to train the teachers to create value for their students. Otherwise, it's not only a question of technology. Next slide, please. Okay, this is the picture from the Ministry of Education in the United Arab Emirates. This is another amazing project that we started 5 years ago. You can see in these pictures this labs environment where you have kinetic tools, where you have 3D printers, where you have the VR, AR areas, where you have the podcast, the libraries, and the teachers. Believe me, it was an amazing project. We started 5 years ago. It was for public schools, and we trained the teachers to understand the technology and how to build up real projects and how to create, let's say, a small single scenes with their smartphones. And this was part of the smart education program in the Emirates, and we implemented in 6 public schools. Okay, next slide, please. Next one, please. Yes, please, next. Okay. Well, next one. Yes, here with some customers with the certificates, when we train the teachers, we have a methodology developed for the European Union just to provide this curriculum to train the teachers in this new kind of ecosystems. And you can see some pictures of our workshops, our training sessions, and we gave certificates, and then something which is very important for us to take feedback, direct feedback from the students about the evolution of the project. Next slide, please. Okay, one thing is very important. we cannot continue working as we did in the past. This is no, it's a wasting word, but the world as we have created is a process of our thinking. It cannot be changed without changing our thinking. So the question is, I'm against, believe me, against to use VR in education as a topic. We have to think that VR is only a very, very small part of the ecosystem. It's an amazing tool. You can use it as a visualization environment, or you can use it to create content. But if you don't understand that you have to change the rules and to use it in a complete environment, then will be a very, very difficult to succeed in this environment. Okay? Sorry, next slide, please. Okay. Well, we are at the end of this journey. I know that it was tough for those who are very late at night, but my colleagues from UK, we are early in the morning. So for me, believe me, it's this is my passion, and this is how I wanted to share with all of you. We have our meetings in Vara every 2 weeks. You are all welcome if you want to come to Vara or you want to come to me. I can share all my experience with all of you because we think that we have to take it seriously. One thing is great that we are here, a lot of people in this amazing environment with this amazing job that the people from Educators in VR is doing. Believe me, it's amazing the things. We are looking for the love. We have to say thank you guys, you are doing an amazing things, believe me. I think this is only the start, okay? But now the really tough thing is how to move from this starting point to the next stage, because the next stage will be the more, let's say, professional state, in the way that we need to create a real value, to expand the network, to teach the people to understand that the network is the issue, that we have to interact one with each other, that we have to work closer, and it's not a question to be here just to say hello, hello. We have to know person by person and to say, okay, we need to interact, we need to learn from your ideas, your perspective. Otherwise, the network has no sense, you know? And then
Carlos,
we waste a lot of time. Yes?
do you have time to take some questions?
Absolutely. Yes, because I'm here
Okay.
just for you. So I'm open to all your questions, please. Also, next slide, because in the next slide you have my address. If you want, yes, if you
Okay.
want to contact me, you can do it directly, okay? But I'm open to all your questions. Thank you for your passion and to be here. I love you guys. It was really a pleasure to be here.
Carlos, your passion is contagious. So amazing.
Thank you.
So, and we will get to your questions.
Come on, guys. I think it's a little late, but it's an opportunity to talk about that.
Well,
Otherwise,
if you're
you are
comfortable,
so
I wonder
tired.
if we don't even need people could just open up and just talk with you. So I'm going to toggle off the mute button. And if you've got anything that you'd like to talk to Carlos, feel free to come on down.
Yeah, let's open up. Everyone speak now.
Oh, we do have one question.
Yeah?
Is it working?
Yes, I can hear you.
No, I just want
Larry, yes.
Yes. No real questions. I know a lot of your experience. I've done this a long time as well. And it was a great presentation. I liked that you broke the difference of just watching a video versus interacting in an environment, which I think was great.
Okay, thank you very much. Hi, Art. You have a question?
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, perfectly.
I hope so. Yeah, so I'm just curious about your experience with extreme introverts, autistic young people jumping into VR, and do they have a different experience in a social VR situation than they do?
Yeah. I will tell you, during the last 5 years, we have been working with many schools just to trying to explain the opportunities about VR in the classroom. I can tell you one experience. It was a music topic, okay? And I was in a school talking with the teacher and said, please, I want to be there in your daily classroom and to understand in the way that you are teaching music to your students. So we were there, we were allowed to record live the complete session, and then we said, okay, let's think about a new way to change the rules and to engage. You know, music is passion. So why it was so bored classroom, you know? So when we saw the video to the teacher is a musician, is a very well friend of mine. He has 2-3 careers, so she's an expert in music, but the classroom was really bored, you know? And I said, okay, we are going to change the rules. So we were there for the second day, and we said to all the students, okay, we are going to record a new live session. So you are, instead to put all the rows like that, we are going to move around the, let's say, like if you are going to play just for me, and I will be sitting in the middle, okay? And we are going to put all the instruments around this space in the way that I want to hear winds, percussion, or string instruments around the place. So I was talking with the teacher to say how you are going to change the storytelling. How do you think that you can engage the students in other way around? Imagine that you are going to make a different lesson every day. I know it's tough, but music is passion. So you have to think about that. So the lesson was about, I don't remember the film, Wheels of Fire, I think, and with electronic music, you know. So the thing is, I said, okay, you have to start to put a part of the scene where this music is going to sound, and the students need to understand the context in the way that they said, okay, this is the context, this is why the author create this partiture, this music, and then you are going to play the same, but with your instruments. The instruments were analog; they don't have electronic instruments. Okay, so and this will be an open conversation. So the teacher made an introduction. Then the students will talk about what they understood from the lessons, and they start to talk. Okay, so amazing. They were very well dressed to the classroom. Everybody was there. They knew that they were going to record it, and nobody can hear in a different place because I want to see all the faces in the classroom, you know. Then they started to play the song. You know, it was really amazing. The teacher said, I can't believe that, because the partiture was A, B, A, and usually they play for 2 minutes. And they play the complete partiture, A, B, B, A. So it took 5 minutes. Can you imagine that?
I wonder if I could ask, I hate to interrupt, but we need the room in 10 minutes.
Okay,
I wonder
okay.
if your guests would take the portal into a social area. There's a portal in the back where you all can go and continue the conversation.
Okay,
And
perfect,
that
perfect.
would be one. Oh, thank you. I am so sorry because
Okay, okay.
I know that everybody wants to hear. Okay, so the
Okay.
portal, if you want to go out the back.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you very much anyway.
I'm sorry.
I will see you. I will be there. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you, Carlos. Oh, good. Thank you. There you go. I'll let you take them.
Yeah, it's just the portal's